Boom. What's up, guys? We are live. We got Kevin Ray Wilder joining us, and we got a dope show for you today. So we're going to be debating a Blackpiller, and then Duke might also make an appearance. So we got a lot of good stuff ahead. But first, let's all get pumped as fuck by listening to our new trailer, which I've been playing. How do you feel about big dicks? We got Sarah J on the casting couch.
Yes.
She's never done this before.
You are about to have sex with other girls, but she's not. Fuck that shit.
What are some of the biggest mistakes you personally experienced?
Shoulder fuckers.
All right, we're back. So yeah, today's actually a big day for playing Fire. We just hit 90K a few hours ago.
Woo! Congratulations, man.
Coming up to 100. I think it'll be in like 2 months. 2 months.
Yeah,
100K.
Dude, that's legit.
Yeah,
Dude, at that point, you can. I mean, you've already had big people that you've interviewed on your show, but like at 100K, you'll basically have like nobody say no to you. Only people who think that what you teach is controversial or something. But if they actually watch your content, it's really not that controversial. I think it's very reasonable. So
yeah, I don't think I say anything really that controversial at all. But yeah. But okay, so let's start with you guys all know Kevin. I think that we've had him on like the channel like 6-7 times, so I don't even think an introduction is necessary. let's just jump in with this. What are you up to nowadays?
Yeah, so I'm having a big video that's probably going to be dropping tomorrow. I think every video that I do from now on, I really make sure that my messaging is very clear with it. But yeah. The main things I'm focusing way more on philosophy now, more specifically like the philosophy of being a man, more specifically virtue ethics, if you guys know what that is. I'll be talking about them in videos in the future. But yeah, so just making YouTube videos and then just kind of trying to, we call it the manosphere, right? So let's talk about like what it means to be like a great man. So for example, of course I believe in game and all that type of stuff, but the red pill in particular, guys like Rolo talk about like, oh, what's a predictive framework of how a woman might react to you? It's like, well, depends on what type of man you are, right? And so the type of content that I'm creating is more so about just becoming like the best man that you could possibly be, right? Developing your character and developing yourself physically, mentally, all that type of shit. And then that's your predictive framework, right? Because if you're just like a fucking like, I don't like to use this word seriously, but for lack of a better word, if you're like an alpha dude, like, I mean, do you think you're going to be struggling in your dating life? You know what I mean? It's so funny because when I was talking about this on my stream yesterday, like I was trying to think like, how did I even get into this dating space in the first place? It's because in order for you to like self-actualize and actually focus on self-development, if you struggle to get girls and you're not getting any pussy, that's all you're going to think about. You're not going to be thinking about like, oh, how do I become like a good person, or how do I like find meaning in life? You're just going to be like, nah, I haven't gotten laid in forever. I feel like a fucking loser. I want pussy. It's kind of like if you haven't eaten in a week, all you're going to be thinking about is food. From a Maslow's hierarchy of needs standpoint, it's a similar thing, right? If you're not with women and all that, you can't focus on the things that actually matter. So I think that's why I naturally started to gravitate toward that content. But, for me, I always say this, even though the Blackpiller strawman me into it, I'm not a dating coach. I don't think there's anything wrong with dating coaches. I associate with one. You are one. I think dating coaches are fucking great. And I help guys out with dating in the sense that if it's something that's preventing them from doing the other things, right? And I'm good at, dating myself. So if guys want advice on that, I'll give them.
I had to think about that for a second because you said I'm good at dating myself. I'm like, wait, how are you dating yourself? Oh, you're good at dating.
Just self-love. I just jerk off all day. Yeah, I'm dating myself with my Jill here, Jill. Yeah, but I think it's if you've heard of the term "don't put pussy on a pedestal," right? Yeah. You're gonna naturally put pussy on a pedestal if you're not getting any at all. So I want guys to like just be comfortable enough and confident enough that they can get the girls that they want. So then they can actually, focus on the shit that matters, such as like philosophy, for example. So obviously, as you can tell, the way that I'm explaining it, I need to be able to make all that a bit more concise so that every person that comes to my channel knows exactly what I'm talking about. And that's kind of the stuff that I've been focusing on lately. But yeah,
Well,
I'm really drawn to philosophy, as you know, and I really want to try to bring that to this space because I think it's much needed.
well, I've actually been studying a little bit of like logic / philosophy myself in order
Mm.
to get better at debating various black pillars and red pillars. So I've actually been studying a little bit of that.
Hmm.
Also started reading this book recently. It's a famous book, 48 Laws of Power. Are you familiar with that one?
Yep.
It's pretty interesting shit. It kind of puts some of the things that I've been doing into perspective, I think.
Well, then also it's the playbook. Like, this is how I know exactly what Rolo's doing all of the time. So first of all, I almost sort of hesitated to say that, yes, I've read 48 Laws of Power, because the unofficial 49th Law of Power is that you don't tell people that you've read it, right? Because, you know,
Why's that?
because you're basically giving them the playbook for things that you implement. Now, I don't implement every single thing in there because 48 Laws of Power is basically written in a way where he's telling stories throughout history, and then
Yeah.
also using some prescriptions that famous philosophers have had. He has a lot of quotes in there by like Kierkegaard, Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, Aristotle. But then, you know, he also takes inspiration from like The Art of War, for example. But yeah, like if you really want to see like what Rolo is doing, especially when it comes to like making us versus them dynamic, trying to create like a cult mentality, the way that he like refuses to apologize, um, he's taking that from that book. So I find that interesting.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so the next thing I was gonna get into this. So people, okay, so I just felt like I should bring this up. So people were in the comments were saying, oh, like why doesn't Kevin not show receipts? And I think I can have a nuanced answer to that. So I think that like people who are not content creators have this idea that showing receipts is like super easy, but there's actually a lot of cons to doing that, and I'll explain some that I've personally had, to showing receipts. Number one, legal issues. Number two, increased chance of having your YouTube channel shut down. Number three, girls you're banging or trying to bang finding out those receipts and getting really pissed off and not banging you. Those are three, like right off the top of my head. So I think that, for example, me on this channel, I didn't show a single piece of infield until I hit 50K. And I really did not want to show infield because I was like, fuck this. Like, there's going to be so many downsides to doing it. But in the end, I decided to do it. So I think that it's important to realize that when, like, especially since you're not a dating coach, like, why, like, I don't know. Like, I just don't feel like you own anyone. Like,
well, I think it's because I tell people that game exists, which for some reason, like the only thing that I am selling right now is my fitness program. So like it actually would work in my favor if I was just like, the black pill is the truth. Looks are all that matters. You just need to get jacked, bro. Like that would actually work in my favor to like go against the dating coaches, but I can't deny reality. Of course, game exists. And then to top that all off, people keep saying I don't have receipts. Guys, I literally posted receipts before. Go on my, now maybe it's not receipts
that's true.
that
You
you
have
feel
that
is good enough. Yeah, but it's like 15 minutes of me texting girls, hanging out with them. You know, girls dancing up on me. That was like my ex, but apparently that's not good enough because she's not like sticking her tongue down my throat. And here's another thing too. I showed you this in the analytics, Alex. My audience is 25% female. I have the biggest female audience, probably the entire manosphere. Yeah. So like,
I'm kind of jealous.
A lot of my audience is probably going to be fucking pissed if I'm just like showing that. And I actually did film infield footage of with AJ Hayden in Las Vegas, where we pulled girls back to his place. I'm still debating whether I want to post it or not, because again, the girl in the video, she follows my Instagram, so she chances are she watches my YouTube channel too. Like I don't want to like, maybe I'll have that in Patreon or something, but it's weird, man. I'm glad that you brought that up, because I always found that kind of odd when people just like willy-nilly like put their own personal lives out in the public. It's like, well, if these girls know who you are, they're going to look at that. It's going to be fucking awkward, right? So the girls that I do post, that I did post on like my receipts or whatever, they're either girls that I don't aren't in contact with anymore, or they're girls who like I'm just friends with, and I don't like, I still have a good relationship with, and it's fine. You know
Yeah,
what I
no,
mean?
there's
So
definitely been like significant, like not significant, but noticeable negatives to me posting receipts. Like I've had multiple chicks that I was going to hook up with, like bail last minute because they found out one of my videos, and they're like, "Oh, you're going to make a video on me." And even at that point, when I tell them no, I'm not, they're still sketched out. So I've had multiple situations like that. Another thing that I think is interesting is even me, who I think I show a lot of receipts, it's never good enough for like some people. There
mhm.
was this one guy who was he was in the last live I did, and he was saying that he's like, bro, if you were real, then you would have videos on your channel of girls saying that they fucked you. That's like, I'm like, well, I have like pictures of me with girls, videos of me with girls. I have a girlfriend. She's been on my channel many times. Like, I
Yeah,
have layer reports from start to finish. She's like, that's not
yeah,
good enough, man. Why don't you have videos of girls saying that they fuck you? So it's never good enough. Like,
yeah.
I even have a porno floating on the internet, and that's not good enough either, apparently. Like, so I don't know, man. I find that like it's just like there's never enough receipts. Like, there's never enough proof. And then the black pillars always will say that, well, that's fake. That's like the argument of like, how
Yeah,
do I know
exactly.
that's not fake?
Exactly. I mean, how about my receipt is that 25% of my audience is female, so maybe some of the things that I'm saying actually rings true. I'm sure the red pillars are just be like,
Well,
"Oh, just because you're a blue-pilled simp, that's why the women they're a simp and they want to take advantage of you by viewing your content." Like, all right, well, whatever. And look, if you think that, my lack of receipts or whatever disqualifies me as a dating coach, that's fine. I'm not a dating coach. So like that's fine. Like, oh, I'm not gonna buy your dating program anymore. What, the dating program that I don't have? Okay. Look, my specialty is looks maxing and trying to bring philosophy to modern men. So if
so
that's
yeah.
something that aligns with your mission, then cool. If not, that's cool too.
It's very disingenuous to ask Kevin for receipts, in my opinion. Even Cajun or Neil Strauss would consider Kevin a natural, even if it was a late boomer compared to chats. People nitpick my Summer Walker DMs low. Would you say you're a natural?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't, just because I had a lot of social shyness that I had to get over. Like, I was actually kind of like a mute in high school, but I think
I would say
I
Duke is definitely much more of a natural.
yeah, because he's very like naturally extroverted, right? I
Yeah.
will say though, I think it's possible that a lot of introverted guys, they have some sort of talent when it comes to speaking and communicating with people, and they just don't have that, you know, once they get over their shyness, that's when they're realized. So I do think that I have kind of a talent for speaking and communicating with people, but
Mm.
that wasn't really realized until I got over my shyness. But it's possible that it's just something that I learned over time, so I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely was not natural. Yeah,
Yeah.
Alex, I think we might be Eskimo Bros. You follow this chick I used to bang on IG. She's short, Latina, lives in your building, owns a bunny. You know her. I don't know any chicks that own a bunny, but maybe she didn't tell me.
Yeah.
Chances are I did not bang her, simply because I don't think I've really banged anyone who lives in my building.
You don't want to shit where you eat, man.
Well, I have done that in the past, but
Mm.
I don't think so, but I would need to know who it is. So just like, I don't know, when I get my Instagram back, DM me, I guess. I don't know. Whatever that will be. Okay, so let's quickly jump into the Coach Whitepill situation because everyone
Mm.
like fucking keeps asking about it. So
Sure.
okay, so you have a video, you kind of explain what happened.
Yeah.
And I'm on your side because I've had also bad business partnership that went bad. And I was in a situation where I really would vouch for this person like 4 years ago, and now I would never vouch for them, right? Because things change, people change, blah blah blah. But so like, what's kind of been your take on this whole thing? Like now that it's over and that you're reflecting on it.
Well, interestingly enough, it's not technically over. There's a lot of things that are happening in the background, which
Really?
obviously, yeah, I mean, there's no point in me again because it's like, what's the point of me bringing it into the forefront, into the public, if I don't have to? So if he starts
Um,
saying slanderous things about me in public, then I will, because I
right.
have a lot of, keyword receipts that make Coach Whitepill look even worse than the things that I talked about. Literally, like video evidence of these things happening, right? Which is also the reason why he hasn't. People are wondering why hasn't Coach Whitepill said anything. It's because I have actual receipts that if he does try to slander me, I will release those, and then it's just game over, right? So the truth is on my side because I have video evidence for it. There's no need for me to say it because I'm not trying to just destroy his reputation more than it already is. Because like, let's be honest, guys, the reason that y'all like know who Coach Whitepill is because he was on my channel, right? At this point, it's like me like punching down. There's no point. And so if he says anything more publicly, he knows that I have these receipts, which is why he isn't saying anything, because he knows that I have evidence of the actual truth in video that I can post if he starts slandering me. So that's to answer you, because that's a legitimate thing. Like, why is Coach Whitepill silent? That's why. That's why, because it's just like what I said happened is what actually happened. And I have video evidence actually of that being the case, but there's no need for me to throw that out there and completely just try to destroy his reputation. Because again, that wasn't the goal. I had a responsibility to my audience to just tell them what happened. When Coach Whitepill was like, "Oh, we separated for business reasons," like, no, we freaking didn't. You kicked me out of the house. I needed to make that clear of like what actually happened, right? So, so that's the reason for it, and that's why because Josh isn't a dumb guy. He's not going to make any public statement or anything addressing this, because the only way that he looks good coming out of it is by lying. And if he lies, I have video evidence to prove otherwise. He knows that. So that's why, as far as I'm concerned, the thing's over. And, I'm happy to talk about it. Just because look, I just said what happened, right? There's no my story. There's no Josh's story. It's literally just like the story of what happened. So, but yeah.
How did you guys meet up in the first place?
So there was this girl that I knew back in Thailand. She's from Chicago, good friend of mine. And she was running this like event. And so I went to that event, and then he was there. And then he was saying that he was like a dating coach. I was like, oh shit, that's weird. And then because I didn't really know that many like dating coaches in person. And then what happened after that? So then I had like a surprise birthday party that same friend threw for me. And it was for me turning 26. And then so that was pretty cool. And then we all went out after that. My friend went home, and then Josh, myself, and this other girl, we all went out to this bar in Chiang Mai, Thailand. It's pretty well known. It's called Zoe and Yellow. It's like a club there. A lot of tourist girls and stuff go there. And yeah, so him and the one girl that was at the surprise party, they were hitting it off. And then with me, there was this one girl that was like really like eye fucking me from across the room. And then Josh was like, dude, that girl's into you. I was like, oh shit, really? I guess I wasn't good at picking up choosing signals or whatever. And then, and then I went and talked to her, danced with her. I ended up banging her that night, which was pretty sweet. And then he hooked up with that girl too. So then at that point, because look, that was the second time I ever hung out with him. I was like, oh shit, well, I guess this dude knows what he's talking about, So, and then what happened after that is we still weren't business partners. I moved to Vietnam, and then he happened to be moving to Vietnam as well, like a month or two later. And he, my background is in sales, so he was struggling with getting guys into his program, and he was like, "Oh, these guys don't have money." I was like, "Yeah, they do. They just don't want to give it to you." So, and because I was like, yeah, I work in sales. Like I've, done high ticket sales where you convince guys to give you thousands of dollars over the phone. Obviously, you need to have a great product and service to deliver on that. And then, so he gave me a rundown of his program. I was able to vouch for him based on the one experience of me going out with him. And then, I closed a few clients for him, and then just kind of showed him how it was done. And then he ended up starting doing sales, because I just, even though I guess I'd be considered a good salesman, it's not something that I enjoy doing. I enjoy more like content creation.
I don't enjoy sales either.
Yeah. Like I think I'm naturally good at it just based off my track record, but it's not, you need to have like a personality like Duke and Don, or like Duke, to like love sales, right? You need to be like the super extroverted guy. Yeah. So being the sales guy was more Josh's temperament, because he's very extroverted. And then, so I started to, I showed him that. And then I started to do more fitness coaching for him instead. And then like mindset training. And we started a podcast together before we even fused businesses. And then eventually we were working on enough things that he just kind of ingratiated me into his company, and then that's kind of what
Someone
happened.
said this question, Kevin, was he playing in Vietnam?
Well, so there were a few different cities that we lived in. So the main city that we lived in, and my favorite city is called Da Nang, Vietnam, which is basically like, it literally looks like Miami, but in Southeast Asia. So it's like the Miami of Southeast Asia,
Nice.
Except like less partying and more chill. But looks wise, it kind of looks that way. Like I have a few friends that were from Miami that lived in that city, and that's how they described it. So there it's a bit more chill. The girls are a bit more conservative. It's harder to date. I was doing pretty well there because, again, for the first year and a half, I only dated like foreign girls. Well, foreign as in like foreign from Vietnam. So girls who are from the West, right? In the US, Europe, whatever. And so there are a lot of those types of girls there. So I was doing fine there. And then for him, the local girls are like way more conservative. There's not as many of them. So he did like okay, not really that great. But then when he moved to a really big city, Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City, which is bigger than New York, I think he was doing quite well there. I only went out with him because a lot of the time, like COVID and stuff was going on. I only went out with him like 2 or 3 times, and I do remember one specific time he pulled a girl home, and I think the rest of the time he was getting girls from online dating. So
Nothing wrong with
yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you had to rate this game, would you say it's like intermediate, beginner, advanced? Like, what would you like rate his like skills?
I think his understanding of game is really good, but that's why I try to make a distinction between the guys who are good at the game versus guys who are good at teaching the game. So, for example, one fundamental thing is if you are at a nightclub setting or just a bar in general, and you approach a girl and she's not really feeling it and she like rejects you, for lack of a better word, how you react to that rejection matters not only for the girl in front of you, but all the other girls in the rest of the bar, right? So this is something that Josh would do that I noticed, and this happened a lot in Vegas, unfortunately, is when he would get rejected, he would show it on his face, right? And so that almost unfortunately kind of sends a signal out to any other girls that are watching that might. So it's more sort of those things, and I know for a fact that for him, he knows not to do that, but sometimes like you're doing things and you're not even aware of it. And that was sort of a communication problem that him and I had as friends. I wouldn't say that we were like wingmen that often. Because again, like he thought that I would like mog him or something. It was so weird. But anyway, yeah, but I probably should have told him that. I don't know how receptive he would have been to hearing it, but those little minute things with your game does matter.
Yeah, I agree with this comment. Even though CWP did Kevin dirty, I think he's a good guy who just made a mistake.
I totally agree.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that.
100%.
Also, for all the people that are asking where's the debate, he's coming. He just texted me. He's just running late, so it's gonna be in like 10 minutes or so. Just bear with us, guys. Okay, cool. I think we kind of covered that. Next topic. I don't know. Anything you want to discuss, or should we just take some questions before the debate?
I don't know.
Someone says still debating Blackpiller. It seems like, I will give it to the Blackpillars. They have more balls than I think the Red Pillars, because the Red Pillars they don't even have the balls to do a debate versus the Blackpillars. At least they got a little, I don't know, a little fire in them.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. Well, also in the Red Pillars' defense, they tend to show their faces. The Black Pillars tend not to.
That's true.
It's a lot easier to be tougher when you're just, And I think a lot of them use like shitty voice changers and stuff. They always sound kind of weird.
Yeah.
So.
Well, QB did show his face.
Yeah. Well, QB only wants attention for himself. Like he's an actual clout chaser, guys. Like I've been accused of being a clout chaser for making videos on Fresh and Fit, even though I've like barely made videos on them the past few months and I've been getting more views than ever, but whatever. But like when I critique them, I have a reason why I'm critiquing them, right? Like QB Willie has no reason other than that he just wants to have attention drawn to himself. That's literally the only reason. right? He doesn't have any like grander movement or whatever. He's not here to try to help guys out. He's just more interested in like trying to flex on dating coaches. Right?
He's got the receipts movement.
Yeah. Dude, I'm surprised, man. If I was in his position, I think just because like the black pill community is the only community that like took him seriously for some reason. But he would be a lot better to be like, I have better game than all of you guys, and here's why. Here are my receipts. Instead, the reason that everything just seems so fishy is because he's not a good-looking guy at all. Like, guys, really look closely next time when you see QB. Like, you can't see where his chin ends and his neck begins. Like, I do looks maxing, right? He is not a good-looking guy in the slightest, which is okay. I'm not saying that as an insult, but for him to say that he's proof that the black pill exists, it's like, it makes no sense. Now, granted, he is really tall, but if he's saying looks is all that matters, then how does he explain how he gets laid? Because he's not good looking at all.
No,
he's objectively a sub-5.
I think he has some level of game. I think that if he was to put his ego aside and like learn more game, he would have even better results, but that's not going to happen. Alex, genuine question. Why do you debate guys like QB? He seems nice, but he's definitely a troll. Why do I do debates? There's two reasons. One, I think debates are quite fun. They keep this kind of fun for me because I've done so many live streams. Two, people seem to love them. Like people, when I do debates, hundreds of people turn out. When I do a podcast with a bunch of chicks, like 80 people turn up. So,
dude, I found that interesting as well, man. Like my content of me just sitting in front of a camera and talking gets more views than me actually like interviewing girls. Granted, I only have like one video of me doing that so far, and then like 2 podcasts where I did that, but like I find that very interesting actually. So
someone asked, Alex, what's your opinion of Mr. Organic? I'm not a fan. I think that guy is largely full of shit. From the little I've seen, I mean, he has a rap song with Fresh. It's called High Value Man.
I'm a high value man.
Yeah, that's
AP
like
100 man.
That's like super cringe right there. He also
100K next month, 200K next month.
Yeah, he called Spencer Cornelia a racist, which is really dumb because Spencer's clearly not. So when people do play the race card, when it's like so not about race, I'm just like, I have this massive respect. Yeah. Duke is here. Let's add him to the stream. What up, Duke?
He's mute.
He's mute. All right, let's give him a second. Well, I think the debate guy is here. Let me check with him. I can't see your screen. Okay, there we go. There's Duke. Let's get him on. What up, Duke?
Oh, snap. Can't hear you, bro.
Yeah, we can't hear you. Here, let me.
Looks like he's got like a new setup, though. It looks cool.
Yeah. What's up, Duke?
He looks confused. Oh, kind of. I can kind of hear you.
Oh, this is a cool setup.
Yeah, that is a really cool setup.
All right, well, let's give him a second. Dude, can you hear us?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there we go. That's better.
There we go.
I can't hear shit.
We can hear you, dude.
Technical difficulties.
I feel like this is like a Verizon ad. Can you hear me now?
It's so funny. I'm used to seeing, like, when I think Duke and Don, I think of the color blue. I think because of his logo and his like background usually, and then now I see him with a red hat and a red background. I'm like, it's kind of a shock to me.
I got to see who this Dom person was a few days ago on the stream. So
well, he posts a decent amount of like just regular videos that aren't streams.
Oh, okay.
And I think he covers a lot more like sort of like social issues and stuff. He's a smart guy. I actually watched some of his videos when he drops them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A little bit less extroverted than Duke is, but still cool nonetheless.
We had Duke and the other guy both drop off, so let me see, but they'll pop on any second. Yeah. All right, let's take some questions while they're getting their shit set up. Okay, well, we got who is this person? Yo.
Hello.
What's up, Peter?
What's up? Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I was afraid for a second. He just like stand up and show his dick out of nowhere.
Yeah,
like that happened on your stream before.
I
Right?
was so confused by the face mask.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never
mean, I felt compelled to show at least part of my face. You know what I mean? Because you're constantly making fun of Blackpiller. So
That's true.
Here I am.
That is true. That is true. Let's get Duke.
Hey, man, dude. At the very least, you're showing part of your face. So
Yeah, no, that is good.
I cannot hear y'all at
Duke,
all.
we can hear you just
Hang on
fine.
I can
one
hear you
second.
fine.
Alrighty. So where do you want to begin, Alex?
Just bear with us 1 second, Peter. Let's just get Duke's.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can hear you.
yeah.
Oh shit! We're back. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to curse. My bad, dude. Like,
Oh, you're good. It was just very loud. My ears just
my
exploded.
God, bro. I couldn't hear shit. I couldn't hear either of y'all, bro. Hey, thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it. God damn it, Kevin, to see you here. Alex, who's this?
It's Peter.
Peter, nice to meet you, buddy. How you doing?
Likewise. How you doing, bro?
Hey, we good. We Gucci over here, man. How you? Hey, long
What
time.
side are you
no
going to be on
podcast.
tonight?
Duke,
Hey.
I don't know. Duke's gonna be neutral. Duke's usually neutral.
Yeah, he's neutral.
Hey, oh yeah, we about to have a debate. Yeah, no, I'm neutral, bro. I'm just chime in if I have any questions and things like that. But
So really
that's pretty
quickly,
much it.
Peter, I think you've been on one of our channels before, right? Or no?
Yeah, I
thinking
think
of
I've
somebody
been on
else.
Alex's channel maybe once or twice.
Yeah, I think from what I remember, I think you showed up when we were supposed to debate MGTOW Dictionary on Alex's channel. and
I
then
don't
he didn't
remember when
show
it
up.
was. It's possible, certainly.
Okay, I'm pretty sure because yeah, I think so. If I saw like
Do you remember what we spoke about?
No,
No.
I remember there was this guy, like there was a logo, the StreamYard logo was, I don't know what the heck to call those balls that like clink against each other and then the energy goes.
Oh
You know,
yeah, the Newton's
Is that-
cradle.
Is
Yeah.
that was that like your thumbnail?
Yes, yeah, that's
Okay,
Newton's
yes,
cradle.
okay, got it. Yeah, I remember talking to you. I think we had a good discussion last time. I forgot what we talked about, but it really wasn't.
Well, I haven't seen a lot of your content, but
Oh, okay.
the discussion was probably surface level, or else I would have remembered, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So no
Well,
offense.
Oh no,
Yeah.
none taken. I just know that in general, unfortunately, a lot of Blackpillers they strawman my position. They just assume that I'm some whatever, and then they're like shocked to find that I agree with them or they agree with me on things. So I'm not necessarily saying that that's the case for you, but yeah,
Well,
I think it's just because I have a problem with MGTOW Dictionary. People just think that
yeah.
I disagree with him on everything. It's like, no, I just think MGTOW Dictionary is just freaking weirdo, right?
I agree with that.
that's all it comes down to.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
I finally figured out how.
Did you've debated them before, right, Kevin?
MGTOW Dictionary?
We
Yeah.
went on his channel.
Yeah, I
Oh,
debated him like 3 different times.
Okay.
I finally figured out where the whole "I'm a drug addict" thing came from. I finally figured it out. There was this other Blackpiller debate it came from. So because I was wearing a shirt one day that said I like whatever, Kratom is awesome, or I love Kratom. They used that to make the logical leap that must mean I'm a recovering heroin addict. That's so funny. That's such a huge logical leap. But that's
Well, I gotta say too, like the MGTOW Dictionary Black Pill crowd that like trolls our comments is actually only like 10 people. It's just that they all just like each other's comments and stuff, and they spam your chat, so it seems like there's a lot more. But I always see the same names, so
yeah.
it's usually like my actual the vast majority of my haters are the fresh and fit guys. So
Yeah, that's true.
at the very least, the Blackpillers and I are on the same side with that being like the fresh and fit fanboys. At least we both agree that they're like terrible. So whatever.
Dude, I had a fresh and fit fanboy the other day. He was saying, "You're just jealous you can't get a girlfriend like Myron." I was like, I don't even think Myron has a girlfriend. And then he went from that to saying, "Oh, well, I think the real issue is that you're a Jew," and he just like it's just like the most anti-Semitic shit ever. And I'm just like laughing because I'm just like, first of all, I'm like half Jewish, right? Like I grew up like it has nothing to do with who I am as a person. But that was like his big argument, is that I must be a fraud because I'm a Jew. I'm like, okay, interesting logical assumption there.
It is funny how the manosphere kind of attracts a lot of like those alt-right guys,
Yes.
Yeah, it's very. I find
can
that
agree with
very
that.
odd. Yeah,
It's
I find
a
that
new
very
grift.
odd.
It's a new grift for these guys, man. That's all it is. Just grifting.
Because it's one thing to be on the right, but the alt-right is a whole separate thing, right? There's a difference between guys who watch, like, I don't know, Ben Shapiro or whatever, and then guys who are like really into like the whole like Jew conspiracy and all that shit. Like that's a whole other can of worms. But
Yeah.
Kevin,
anyway,
Kevin,
yeah.
didn't you mention that you were a Republican?
I'm a registered Republican. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not against voting for a Democrat. Like, so Tulsi Gabbard, if we're going to get into politics here.
The one from Samoa, or where the fuck is she from?
Hawaii.
Yeah, I'm a big Tulsi Gabbard fan too, actually.
Okay.
So my dad is good friends with a guy who's good friends with her. And I just know, from what I've heard about her that she's a very high quality individual. So if she ran,
Sure.
I would have voted for her. Yeah.
Well, she did. She just never got a Democratic nomination.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
if she did, I would have voted for her.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not one of those like Trump haters. Like I did vote for him the first time, and then the second time I didn't. It's not necessarily because I think he's like an awful person. It's just, I don't know. I didn't. I was in Vietnam, and it was tough to get my vote in. So, but yeah. But I'm still very reasonable with like, I'm not like a hardcore Republican. So for example, Coach Whitepill is very much on the left. He's a big Bernie supporter. And we still, well, I guess I was going to say we found a way to work together, but maybe not. I don't know. Like maybe temperamentally that might have been a recipe for disaster, but whatever. Let's not get too much into politics here.
Yeah,
but,
let's not. Let me just quickly address this. Hey, Alex, smoking weed nonstop as a drug addict. Believe it or not, I have never, ever been high on a stream. When I smoke weed, I get super sleepy and hungry. The last thing I want to do is go on a stream. So I have never once in my life done a stream while high. I only smoke weed before bed because it helps me sleep. So just clarifying that. Okay. Anyway, let's move on to the actual debate. All right, Peter, so kick it off. So let's go through all the points that you emailed me, and we'll just kind of go through it one at a time.
Okay. I mean, I just want to set some parameters before we start, since there's two of you debating. Well, probably as long as Kevin doesn't end up agreeing with me. But, I just want to have more speaking time, I guess, than you and Kevin individually. Do you guys kind of agree to that? Or?
I think that's fine. I think the way that we should do this, and you sound like a reasonable guy. So a lot of times when we debate Blackpillers, they're very rude and they'll interrupt and they'll all of a sudden bring up their phone and then just be like, look at all my receipts, right? You don't seem like that type of guy. So
Peter did do that once with John. We had John.
Yes. I remember that. Yeah,
Peter did get quite disrespectful during that.
Yeah, and I wanted to debate John actually, but he
I know. But
out,
starting off with, I think you're a faggot is not a good way to get someone to debate you. Like that is not a good tactic, especially not with John. Like, he would have done it too if you didn't.
No, you could tell, dude. The ego is pretty fragile.
Well, I don't think John really has. He doesn't really have that much debate experience, though, right? I could see. No,
but he has like the double masters in human-computer interaction and
philosophy. Look, hold on.
Well, yeah,
I don't want to talk about him if he can't defend himself.
Yeah, let's not go down that. Yeah, let's not go down that. Okay, anyway,
right.
So let's kick it off.
Let's kick it off. So I guess we should probably define some, important terms before we start. So. Like I'll actually redirect and ask you, Alex, what do you think the black pill is and what do you think it isn't?
Well, I mean, I think it's hard to define a movement because you have a bunch of different people who call themselves black pill. And sometimes they believe different things. And you have the same thing with the red pill. So the red pill says that they're all about the truth, versus black pillars also say they're all about the truth. But the truth is subjective and it depends on your experiences. So what I've come to associate with the black pill is the following. These are, I think, the prevailing thoughts in the community. Number one, looks are by far the biggest thing that matters, if not the only thing that matters, or SMV, I guess we can call it that. That's what's going to determine your results with women. Number two, game doesn't exist or is extremely minimal. Number three, if you're below a certain tier, like you're like a 5 or a 4, you shouldn't even bother. It's a lot of like nihilism and stuff like that. That's what I see in the black pill community. So those are kind of like the big three things that I see a lot of black pill content creators saying over and over again. But there's also some disagreements. Like you have like We Waffles and MD, and they have some differing beliefs. So, I think it's a big community where people believe different shit.
Okay, so we got kind of the three pillars that you just said. So that I guess the absence of game, right? The importance of appearance or looks, and then the third thing is nihilism, right? I'm just, I don't want to straw man you. So I guess to start off, if we want to talk about the absence of game, right? We should define game as well as the black pill. So what's game, Alex?
Game is your ability to seduce and sleep with a woman.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's the case, then shouldn't game encompass looks?
Game does well. Game looks are a big part of your ability to get laid, but there's more to looks. Like game is your ability to. Yeah, I mean, you can say that looks goes into it, sure.
Okay, so like if we're gonna try to evaluate, or I guess evaluate the usefulness of game, right? We should break it down into individual components, right? And I know you like to I guess you like to compare guys who are equivalent in looks or whatever, and then who are differentiated by game, right? And you do this, I guess, to prove that game is important, obviously, and can change your outcomes. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I truly believe game can change your outcomes, and I think I've shown that time and time again.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But so it's like your argument is that if you have two guys, right, of let's say equal attractiveness and SMV, and one of them is socially awkward and the other one is socially confident, then the latter example is going to do much better with women. Therefore, since they're different in game, presumably, the game exists. That's the argument, right?
That's not my main crux of my argument. My argument is there are better and worse ways to do things. There are better and worse ways to talk to a woman. There are better and worse ways to text a woman. There are better and worse ways to escalate with a woman. And the existence of the fact that there are better and worse ways implies that there is game. So, the guy that, for example, is much smoother when escalating when the chick is back at his place, or much better dealing with her objections. He has much better game than the guy who can't do those things.
Yeah, I would agree with that, right? So if we go to a bar, for example, take two guys. The first guy asks a chick if she can marry him, and the second guy asks a chick if he can buy her a drink. The second guy is going to be more successful. So we don't have any disagreements there.
But you acknowledging that acknowledges the existence of game.
Yeah, I guess if we want to define it that way, then game exists.
Okay.
But my contention would be like you in your discussion with QB, right? QB's like, but Alex, most people like have that basic ability to interact, right, and are not like creepy and like will not just say like stupid shit, right, off the cuff. And then your response was that I have a bunch of clients or whatever that are awkward, and maybe that just applies to you, but maybe there are like a large segment of men, or there is a large segment of men that struggles with their game. So I would say like that's an unfalsifiable claim. And you kind of, since you're the game guy, I would say the burden of proof is on you to prove that there's a majority of men that struggle with this skill.
Well, that's not the crux of my argument, though. I was using during that debate with QB, I was using extreme analogies to make a point. Because if I made subtle analogies, then he wouldn't get the point. But it doesn't have to be. You don't have to be just a socially awkward guy. You can be an average guy, and then you learn game and strategy, and then you go from you start having better results with women. Like for example, you don't have to be a socially awkward guy. You can be your average guy. Maybe you're good with your friends. You're good at interacting, but you don't really know how to text a girl well. Like every time you get a text, you either send her an essay or you do this or that. You make any number of mistakes. You over text, you under text, blah, 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 blah. And then you learn proper text game structure, and suddenly your results with women increase. Right. So it doesn't have to be this extreme thing when the guy's super socially awkward. It can be, there's many different levels of that. But the reason I didn't make that point to him is because that would have flown right over his head. Well, like literally when I told him that, okay, let's say you have two guys, one of them catcalls to the side of the street and the other one calmly and confidently approaches a girl. Will they have the same success rate? He said yes. So I had to go to a more extreme analogy to get him to realize that there are some things that are better. That's why I went to the example of the guy that he comes home and with a girl, he whips his dick out, right? I had to like go to such extreme analogies to get him to point out across on that. But it's really more subtle than that, and there's different levels to it. You can have average game, and then you can go to above average game. You can go above average game and go to advanced game. There's different levels of advanced game. So it's much more subtle than that. I don't think you have to. Game only applies if you're a socially awkward guy. No.
Okay, so then we should compare the results, or whatever. Do a controlled experiment between two guys, one of them being average and the other one being super suave, and see, I guess, the differences there.
Well, we would have to find two identical twins.
Yeah, of course, but I'm saying this is just to test our ideas, right? Like, I'm asking you what you think would happen. We don't have the data, obviously.
If we have exactly what, like if we have two identical twins.
Correct, and one of them is I guess average socially. I'm not even sure how we would define that. And the second guy, has studied your seduction curriculum, right? Hypothetically speaking.
Well, actually, I do have a little bit of data drawn. So one of my best friends in college, well, I reference him without his name. He's the guy that I learned a lot from. He was a natural. He had an identical twin brother. They were both, neither one of them was socially awkward, but my buddy was way banged way more chicks and way more successful with chicks than his identical twin. He was more charismatic. He was more confident, and he also knew more about game. He read various like theory and watched game versus the other guy. He was a little bit more nerdy and he played video games. He wasn't as into game. And I don't have exact number of chicks they fucked, although I probably could find that out. But the guy I was friends with, he did bang like a lot more chicks, and they were both like identical twins. So
in that experiment, we would also have to control for effort and time, like energy expenditure, right? Between the two guys, because you could have let's say I have average game and yours is really good, but you just spend like way more time pursuing chicks, and then you try to show me that to prove that you have your superior game is leading to the superior results, even though it's the energy expenditure.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's the volume, we'll call it volume. Yes.
Volume, yeah, there you go.
That plays a role for sure. It's a really hard experiment to do, but I can tell you, like, based off like myself, for example, I think I've always been, since I hit puberty, I've been similar SMV. I don't think like I've gotten way better or way worse looking. At least within like a point, I've been similar. And the results I get, like when I was 19, I used to go out, 19, 20, I used to go out maybe 5x what I go out now. I used to party 4 or 5 nights a week. Now maybe I go out once a week. Like I don't party much, and I get laid a lot more now. So I can tell you that just within myself. And yes, part of that is because dating apps are now a thing and they weren't. But even with just like cold approach, like my results now will be better than they were when I was 19. And my SMV is the same. So, and I spend less effort now. So I can tell you, why is that? Well, because I've learned to avoid the myriad of mistakes that I would make when I was younger. I used to, when I was younger, for example, I would start talking to a girl and I would just get stuck. Like even if it was a chick who had a boyfriend, I would just talk to her for 2 hours. The whole night would be wasted. That was one mistake. Number 2 mistake, if I couldn't bring a girl home with me, I wouldn't get her phone number. Number 3 mistake, if I did get a girl's phone number, I would drunkenly call her at 4 a.m. Or if I did text her next day, I would text her in a really cringe way. So there's just like so many mistakes that I was making and so many things I was doing suboptimally. And once I fixed all those issues, my results for the time I spent just went way up. And I know plenty of other people like that in that category who like now are getting more success with women despite putting in less work.
Okay, well, I can't contest that point, obviously. And I don't even necessarily disagree. But I guess my question to you is, again, we can compare the guy with average skills, and you're saying like, again, he's still struggling with, I don't know, you said like coordinating and shit and like writing essays and stuff. I guess what do you think like prompts guys to behave in that way, Alex?
I think they don't know any better. I think just a lot of times we don't know any better and we do what we think is best. Like I didn't know any better, when I was younger. And, when a chick would like flake on me, I would get pissed off and I would send her a butthurt message because I didn't know any better.
Isn't that circular reasoning though? You're saying they do it because they think it's best. Why do they think it's best?
I don't know, because they saw it in the movie, because one of their friends told them about it, because they I don't know, because they don't know what else to do. Maybe it worked for them once, so they think it's like a good strategy. I mean, it could be any number of reasons why they do it. I don't know exactly why they do so. I'm trying to think of why I did some of the dumb shit I did when I was younger. I think simply just because I didn't know any better and I was just trying shit. Honestly, I think that's what it came down to.
Okay. Let me think here.
So really quickly, let me chime in because this is kind of an analogy that I brought up in my stream yesterday. But I like to kind of look at the looks versus game debate as if it's like a football game, and your defense is your. I can hear myself from somebody's.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not
I don't know,
mad.
whatever, it's fine, whatever. So I consider the defense to be your looks and the offense to be your game. So if you have like the most Giga Chad defense of all time, because look, if you're a gig, contrary to what the Black Pillars think, because I actually have some friends who are professional models, right? And they do fine in their dating lives, but they're not necessarily dating the hottest girls because like the hottest girls, no matter how good looking of a guy you are, I know this is a contentious thing to say in the Black Pill, but guys care more about looks than girls care about looks.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Absolutely, yeah. I think all four.
No,
of
but
us
here's the thing:
agree on that.
Wheat Waffles doesn't believe that. Wheat
Yeah,
Waffles thinks that
a lot of Black Pillars don't believe
Yeah,
I
that.
probably disagree with Wheat Waffles on as much as I
Okay.
disagree with Alex or Kevin or whatever. So,
Okay, so
yeah, we could talk about that. But
yeah. So anyway, my
I'm
point
not like
is that
this huge like lookist guy or whatever. I just
I'm sure you're not.
I don't believe anything like super strongly either.
Yeah.
But I get
So the sort of the analogy is, okay, well, if your defense is looks and your offense is game, if you have the best defense in the world where nobody can score on you, you
Yeah.
barely have to have an offense, but you still need to have a little bit of an offense, right? So let's say you shut down every single team that you play, then all you need to do is just kick a field goal and then you'll win, right? As opposed to, let's say that you have no defense at all and the other team just scores on you every single time. It doesn't matter how good your offense is, you're going to lose every single game, right? So if I had to put words to this analogy, a team with zero defense and all offense is equivalent to a guy who's 4'11", busted up face and overweight. Doesn't matter how much game he runs, he's going to lose every time, right? And if he on the opposite of that, if it's defense and you have the best defense in the world, you're basically literally the living embodiment of Giga Chad. You barely have to do that much to get girls to win the games, but you still have to put in some effort. You still have to score a little bit. You have to at least say hi.
Right? Oh, the key word there being effort, though, right? So if you have the best defense in the world, right, and you allow 0 points, okay, and your offense is terrible, but you score 1 point. I know you can't score 1 point in football, right? You score one touchdown,
one field goal, yeah,
one field
even
goal.
a field goal,
yeah. Sure, one field goal a game. So I don't that doesn't necessarily validate the importance of actually learning the skill. All it does is say that you need to, I guess, pump the volume into the the machine.
Yeah, if you're a Giga Chad, sure, but for the vast
So
majority
then,
of
if you're a
guys who are
Giga Chad,
looking,
Kevin, do you think it's important to actually learn seduction skills, or do you just need to approach?
well, I mean, you could help increase your results exponentially if you learn seduction. Yeah. Because here's another thing too. Seduction transcends just having sex with women. You can seduce somebody into, joining a cult, for example. Obviously you don't want to do that. But, if you read The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene, sure, some of the examples that he gives in the book are actually in a romantic sense, but it's also more so influencing people to do what you want them to do. Right. So I think it's an important skill to learn, but it's an important skill to not abuse. So for example, you want to be able, you could technically say seduction could be persuasion. Persuasion is almost like the ethical way of seducing somebody. So let's say, for example, there's a life-death situation. Your mom has just been on the internet too much and she believes that, oh, I just need to mindset and meditate my way out of, leukemia or breast cancer or whatever. But then that if she goes through chemotherapy, her odds of living are going to be higher. How do you persuade her to do that, right? The skill is involved in persuading her to get to a certain result. That is something that is important for you to learn as a man, no matter how good looking you are.
Kevin, I got a question for you. So what would you say is seduction in comparison to what people would call traditionally game, right? Because the way we're describing it right now, would you say that, if someone would say, hey, would you call this game some kind of game? What would be your answer to that?
Well, I'd say seduction game is basically like Alex was saying, is like your ability to seduce a woman, right? So the two can get kind of conflated in a sense, because it's like when you say like, oh, like, you know, that guy seduced that girl. It's more so he influenced her, not ascribing any kind of negative or positive value judgment to it, just saying he influenced her to have sex with him.
So what would you say would be key distinctions between seduction and game, right?
I mean, I think game is more so kind of the strategy behind seducing, if that makes sense. Like seducing would be like the end result, right? Of like getting the girl to do what you want her to do. And then the way in which you go about that is game. I think that's the way I'd define it. I mean, how would you define it a similar way, Alex?
I kind of zoned out there for a second. Say that again.
It's fine.
So
Well,
how would
basically
the key distinctions between seduction and game, right? And Kevin's saying seduction is more of the end result, prior to game, or was the end result of game, right? And I think
seduction is your ability.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think seduction is your ability to persuade people into doing, I guess, what you want or what you want them to do. That's what I would say seduction is. Game is more of, I think game is more comprehensive. Game is more of just like your ability to, seduce and sleep with a woman, ability to persuade, but also sleep with her, right? Because you can persuade a girl, you can get a girl to like you, but you didn't sleep with her. Like, is that game?
But you could sleep with her, but paying her too.
One can also say
that's a whole different thing. I mean, I
want to, I want to steer this conversation a bit, if it's cool. I think this is important because a lot of people in the chat are asking this, and I think this is actually at the crux of the whole black pill versus PUA argument. So I think we should talk about, does game increase attraction from a woman? I think that's kind of like the central sort of point of contention. I think I have my own thoughts on it. Peter, do you want to just, because again, I don't want to straw man you and just assume that you have the traditional black pill stance on it. I mean, what is your stance on that? Do you think that game can increase a woman's attraction to you?
Okay, so first of all, it depends how you define it, obviously. And second of all, I guess I'm like, I don't know, moderately black pilled, but, you know, not really in the orthodox sense. So
orthodox.
So let's just say for game, right? My definition would be, if you want to call it an ability or whatever, like the ability to give women what they want without paying them. You guys agree on that?
Give or get?
Give. You're giving them what they want. So essentially, you're supplicating to them.
No, I would 100% disagree with that, because you don't need any game to give a woman what you want. Like, you can have a sugar baby. You could be like, here, take $1,000. I guess you said without money.
said without paying.
Okay. Without money. Okay, but it could be
caveat.
like, okay, fine, fair enough. But you could be like your attention. She just wants to chat with you all day, and you sit there and you nod and you give her what she wants because she wanted your attention, but you didn't bang her.
But I'm talking about with the end goal of sex, obviously.
Peter, are you implying that the girl needs to already be seeking sex in order for game to work?
That's a
she needs to actively question. Like, she actively needs to be like, I want to get fucked. And
isn't it better to say get what you want? Isn't it better to redefine it as the ability to get what you want without paying for it? Like, I think that would make more sense than to give women what they want. I don't think you need any game to give women what they want.
Okay, but the thing is, women have to want to have sex with you.
Oh, of course.
So you're giving them what they want.
I mean, otherwise it's rape.
Right. Exactly. But if they want to have sex with you and they're super down, why do you need game? At that point, you just start escalating. The amount of game required in a situation like that is extremely
well, that's why I was asking Peter, like
last night.
Okay, no, but let's say they want to have sex with a guy that makes them feel comfortable, right? That, you know, escalates slowly and methodically. Then you're giving them what they want by doing that.
But what if a girl wants more than one thing, or she doesn't know what she wants? Like, for example, okay, I'll give you an example. Last night I had a chick come over from field, and she was super fucking DTF. I needed like close to zero game. All I had to do was rub my dick on her, and she got horny, and then I banged her. There was like no game required at all. All I needed to do at that point was not to have some kind of seizure and like, you know, spaz out. But then I've had other situations where the chick is like, she comes over, or even like I meet her in public, but she's not sold on the idea yet. She's into me a little bit, but she's not sold on the idea of fucking me. If at that point I rub my dick on her, she's going to scream and be like, what the fuck are you doing? Right? So at that point, I need to like seduce her way more slowly and methodically. I have to like, you know, be smooth, charming. I have to smoothly transition things into a more sexual setting. I have to get her over my house. I have to escalate in a very smooth, progressive way. So in that situation where the woman is like not sure and she's on the fence, like I'm not saying she doesn't want sex at all. Yeah, that would be like you're not going to convince her, but she's open to the idea of having sex with you, but she's not sure yet. That's how most dates go. In situations like that, just giving her what she wants in that moment was probably just going to be attention and comfort, but it's not going to lead you to getting laid. I think it's more about getting what you want, which is, you know, sex, but it doesn't have to be a, you know, a zero-sum game. You can both get what you want. The way I see it is, you know, if you fuck a girl and you fuck her well, she wins it too. So it's a win-win, you know, proposition, as long as you didn't lie to her and deceive her. If you said like, hey, listen, I'm going to date you, and then you don't, then yes, she loses because she didn't get what she wants. But as long as you never deceived her, it can be a win-win situation. So I don't know about that definition. I'm not a big fan of that one.
Okay, so I think just to answer Kevin's question, I would say like in most scenarios, I think the girl has to be willing to fuck if you're going to employ game in the first place. So I would say yes.
I mean, there's a difference between willing to fuck and then actively seeking it out. So for example, here's a good way to look at it, right? Because chat's saying game is sales, and I totally agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, like, I'm asking you, and then just the audience in general. Has there ever been a time where you're just walking around, minding your day, or let's say you're just on the internet and some ad pops up, and then it's something that's super interesting and intriguing, and then you click on it, you see some, you know, more info about it, and then you're like, huh, I didn't know that I wanted this thing, but now I kind of want it, and then you click buy, and then you end up buying it. Right. So I consider that same thing of like, it doesn't necessarily mean a girl doesn't necessarily need to like get out of her house being like, oh, I'm looking for dick today. Like I'm going to find the hottest guy. I'm going to find the hottest guy and give him all these signals, and he's going to come over and fuck the shit out of me. Like, sure, sometimes there's going to be girls like that, but I think a lot of times they're just going about their day. And then similar to how a good salesman will, you know, cold call or cold approach some girl. A lot of girls will just be like, no, I'm not interested at all. I'm not trying to buy whatever you're trying to put down, whatever. But if he presents it in the right way, then she's intrigued. And all of a sudden, even though when she left her house that day, she wasn't expecting to meet some guy, because the guy ended up fulfilling some sort of need that she didn't even think that she might have had, then they end up going on a date. And then after that, they end up, you know, fucking, maybe being in a relationship or whatnot. So that's why at the end of the day, dating is sales. And I think it's really interesting. I would really like to know if any of these black pill guys have ever worked in sales before. More specifically, have you worked in sales, and were you good at it? Right? Because I think anybody who's worked in sales or marketing, none of them are black pillars, because we understand firsthand that, guys, it's not a coincidence that myself, Alex, and Duke have all been salesmen and sales managers and sales trainers, right? I don't think that's a coincidence at all.
Neither do I. I think being an extrovert is massively beneficial when it comes to dating.
But
well, I'm not an extrovert.
Yeah,
I don't think Alex is either.
Duke,
you're probably an extrovert.
Sure, but extroverts hold on. Extroverts gravitate to sales, right?
Well,
yeah,
so
sure.
I wouldn't say so. I've trained some people who I would say they got some really introverted personalities, but they just have to, you know, develop different strategies to get there, right?
Okay. And then I just wanted to respond to Kevin's thing, right, about the girl. Like, she's not, I guess, like explicitly looking for it, you know what I mean? But like but again, like she wants to kind of, you know, enjoy the process, right? Like, it's not like she's a light switch, you know, she's more of a knob, right? I've heard that analogy. So I think it's kind of like not mutually exclusive, because she could be, you know, like extremely horny, but still, you know, want a guy to be methodical with her. So,
let me add something that I think is going to add a lot of importance to the situation. And this idea, which I very much believe in, is that women heavily rely on emotional states. So when the girl leaves her house, she could be in a very analytical, emotional state where she's just thinking about her errands. She's not horny. She's not thinking about getting fucked. She's just thinking about getting her shit done. And when the guy approaches her, she's still in that analytical mindset. So she might initially, I've had this happen where she almost initially rejects me, right? She's like, sorry, I got to go. But then I'm just persistent. I stay in. And then I can, over time, change her emotional state from that one to a more adventurous emotional state, and then to a horny emotional state. And then, but like that doesn't happen in like 2 minutes. That happens in like an hour, right? So like when she's in that other emotional state where she's in an adventurous, horny emotional state, then yeah, she is horny and DTF at that moment, but she wasn't when she left the house because she was in a completely different emotional state. I've had many chicks, especially with cold approach, tell me like, I literally had no intention of this happening, especially like same day lays, which I haven't had, that's not my forte, but I've had, quite a few of those. They've been like, yeah, I really had no intention of doing this when I left my house. Like I was just like literally going grocery shopping. And then like, I don't know how I wound up back in your place, but then you got me horny and then I hooked up with you. Right. But that's like from her version, she didn't have an intention of that because girls do heavily rely on their emotional states, which is why flaking happens. So for example, you have a chick who's texting you and she's like, yeah, I can't wait to meet you. She's in a very adventurous, horny emotional state. Well, then the day rolls around and she's in a I want to watch Gossip Girl's emotional state, right? And then she's going to flake, right? So girls really heavily rely on the emotional state that they're in. Guys do too, to a much smaller extent, but girls do.
I disagree.
In what sense?
That when it comes to dating, men make less emotional choices. Yeah, no, I think the women, at least in my age group, they're very not cutthroat, but they're very logical almost in a sense when it comes to their dating preferences, but they're masquerading as emotional creatures. So no, I think women are very strategic in their dating preferences, and I think, at least from my anecdotal experience, it's very difficult to gradually change your mind right in your emotional state. But I could be completely wrong about that.
Well, I would say you are completely wrong about that one because I would say that women are, yes, if they're logically asked, okay, what do you want in a guy? They might be like, oh, I want a guy who makes a lot of money, blah, 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 blah. But then they wind up banging some broke musician anyway. So their actions are usually different than the logical things they say. So I take close to, like, for example, when I'm on Tinder, I don't even bother reading the chick's Tinder bios because it's completely irrelevant. If she has no hookups in her bio, it doesn't mean she's not down to have a hookup. Like, it's so irrelevant that I don't even bother to read it.
No, but she could have no hookups in her bio, and still want to hook up, right? So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I just look at the girl's actions rather.
No, but I don't mean subconsciously. Like she could be doing it, to screen out certain guys, but still want to hook up, right? It could be like an actual strategy that she's employing.
It could be, but I don't think women are that deliberate. Like I've interviewed chicks on this podcast many times, and they're just like their dating strategy is just so like I just go with the flow. Like they're just like so. Because they don't need to be as deliberate and methodical about this because they're going to get more than what they want very easily without being like strategic about it. A chick doesn't need strategy or game. She can just roll up to a bar wearing a pretty red dress and she's going to have 20 dudes trying to bang her and 10 of those dudes are going to try to wife her up. Like she's going to have a smorgasbord of options. So
Sorry, I'll let you continue there.
I was just saying she doesn't need to be as strategic as methodical. And just to give one more example, okay, I don't want to like dox. Okay, me and my girlfriend were looking. I'm gonna say that I don't know how to say this without like giving away. We've been trying to meet some girls online. Let's just put it that way. And she's never had to meet a girl, right? So for her, the whole thing is like this is new to her. She's always been a girl meeting guys. And then when she started to see what it's like to text girls, she did a complete 180 because she's like, holy shit, these chicks are so unreliable, Alex. I'm like, yeah, that's what I've been dealing with for fucking 32 years. She's like, I don't understand. This chick said she was down and now she's not answering our texts. So it's like chicks never have to deal with that unless they're like, forcing this, with the exception of a situation like ours. They never have to deal with it because they have so many options and so many guys are coming to them. So they never have to adopt this very strategic, disciplined mindset. They can just be like, fuck it, whatever, and just talk shit to 90 guys. And then there'll still be another 100 guys that are still down to bang them. We guys, we don't have that kind of leisure unless we're like a major celebrity, where we can fuck it up a whole bunch of times.
Yeah. So I think just since women, have the luxury of more options, right? It's like, an employer, if they have 1,000 resumes sent to them, they're going to screen heavily. And the guy they end up selecting is at least going to have some semblance, of the original, I guess, ideal man that she's trying to select.
They may have this ideal, sure, but they often don't go with that ideal. That's what I see happening.
They don't often go with like the complete. I guess not the same as the ideal, but again, the person she chooses will have some semblance to the ideal that she paints in her head.
Maybe not. I've seen girls, talk about wanting to date, like, I'm tired of dating losers. I want to date a guy who's successful, has his shit together, and then she just winds up dating another drug dealer or a musician. Like, I've seen this happen countless times. I think that depends on how much like conscious control the girl has over her actions, and that will heavily be dependent on the girl herself.
I think also another thing to keep in mind within this space, especially the black pill space, is like men and women's brains are in general wired quite differently. Men tend to be a lot more logos based in the sense that they tend to be way more like logical. Like, what's the reason? There must be some deliberate reason why the woman chose this action, right? So when a girl says, "Oh, I just felt this way. It just felt right for me to do this," for most guys are like, that doesn't make any sense, right? So what I see a lot of times black pillars do is they project onto women what they would do in their situation, and then just assume that the women act the same way, which is a lot of times why there's a disconnect between men and women in general, right? So for us, when a woman just says, "Oh my God, like I don't know, it just felt right. I didn't think about it. It just kind of happened."
Just had the tingles.
Yeah, exactly. Like for us guys, like we just can't relate to that. We're like, what? Like, you didn't have a plan? Things just happen. You didn't think about it. But for women, when they explain that to other women, they're like, oh, that makes sense. So I think a lot of the miscommunication within the space has to do that of like men not understanding how women work. And then also conversely, when women don't understand how men work, which is also why they automatically conflate this space with like misogyny, for example. Of course, there are actual like misogynists in this space like Donovan Sharp, but the vast majority of guys, especially the viewers, I think, aren't misogynists. But I can see why women would think that because, they just give them a certain feeling, right? And so women are very intuitive. I think the reason, I could be wrong about this, but my theory, and I think some other evolutionary psychologists and biologists have talked about this, is like women need to trust their gut instinct more and then also use their emotions rather than their logic because us logically as men, we converse with each other, right? We in order to communicate. But women, let's say you have like a baby and you need to understand what the baby wants. The baby can't tell you what it wants, right? So the woman needs to be able to read the baby's body language to know what it wants and to see if it needs to poop, pee, if it's hungry, whatever. So women naturally will be.
I'm going to use the restroom real quick. Hang on a second.
All right, I'm going to respond to that quickly.
Kevin,
if you don't mind.
No.
So women obviously have, if we're going to talk about evolutionary biology, evolutionary psychology, women have a biological imperative to bear healthy children. You would agree to that, right?
Absolutely.
Obviously. Yeah. Okay. So in this current day and age, right, when women birth, children who are deformed and autistic, we see them celebrating those autistic children more than they would celebrate children who are intellectually gifted. So what's your response to that? Even though obviously they're not incentivized to do so, right? In a purely biological, I guess, domain. I don't know how to put it, but yeah.
Well, I mean, is there implication that in the past that's not something that was celebrated either?
Correct.
Okay. So do you have evidence for that or?
Again, I don't have empirical evidence, but I mean, if you just go online, right, and look
I think
at
a lot of
Twitter,
times when it comes to history, we can't help but just think that the past was like way different and whatnot. And there's actually a lot of evidence to support that a lot of monarchs, for example, were actually the result of inbreeding, and then therefore they were mentally defunct or whatever, but they were still praised as like kings and whatnot. So. But anyway, I'm trying to understand, regardless of that, what was kind of the point that you were getting
I don't
at?
know. I just thought that was something we could all really agree to, without me presenting like an overwhelming body of evidence. So my assertion is that women nowadays, even though biologically, I guess they're incentivized to bear healthy children, some women will actually celebrate their autistic children more than they would have celebrated an intellectually gifted child. And that doesn't really make sense if you purely look at their biological imperatives.
I don't know anything about that. I have no idea if they.
Well, it's an analogy, basically. So what I'm trying to say is that, I think biology can be overridden, and even if women are more emotional than men, just because they have so many more options, since they're offered basically, right, a gourmet meal every day, they can select exactly what they want, right? They can select their appetizer, they can select the entree, they can select the dessert. Whereas men, they don't have that luxury, right? So if you're in a bar at 2 a.m., right, and you come across like a drunk five, you're going to be willing to, I guess, I don't know, compromise your limbic system, right, and just make a bad decision. So what do you guys think about that?
Well, chicks make bad decisions too from time to time. So yeah, I think guys are more likely to date down, probably, sure. But yeah,
Well, I think in terms of just like evolution and stuff, for example, the male and females are technically at battle with one another. So the females, and this is across all different animal kingdoms.
That's like the Rolo pill, right?
I mean, he takes it a bit too far, but I'm just saying in general, like when it comes to selecting the best genes, the females will typically have certain defenses up so that only the best genes pass on, if that makes sense. So I forgot where I was going with that.
No, I disagree with that whole gene selection thing too. And again, this is not a hill like I'm willing to die on, I don't, but all I'm going to say is that women, from my observation, they're going to, and I don't know if the chat agrees with me, but the young women in the West are going to select men in very specialized roles, right? They're going to have their appetizer, their entree, whatever. So they're going to have a man who is an emotional tampon, right, and strictly provides that service. They're going to have a guy who, gives them, good dick, right, and they're going to have a guy who's a provider, right? So they can separate those three guys into three separate roles, and basically what they have access to a conglomerate juggernaut, right, of a boyfriend that no guy would really be realistically, able to compete with.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess they can theoretically have get a whole bunch of guys, but guys will bang a whole bunch of girls, and then you'll have a big titty blonde or a big booty Latina in your stable. So guys do that too. But when you get into relationships, if you're not a little bitch, you're probably not going to be cool with your girlfriend having other guys in her life. So I don't see how that would actually play out. Of her having a whole bunch of other guys that she sees. You're going to be like, no, if you want to see me, then you're going to have to not see those guys. And, I think that if she likes you enough and you provide enough value, then she'll go for that. I mean, I guess it depends on the girl.
Yeah, I don't know, but and I'm just going to respond once more to what Kevin said about, selecting the genes or whatever. Another point of contention that I have with these, pseudo evolutionary biologists or whatever, psychologists, is that the age of fertility in the West is it's steadily increasing. And, if women were, these Chad seekers or whatever in high school, they would be the most selective, whereas that's clearly not the case. I think it's much easier to date in high school, at least as a guy. It's there's a lot less hurdles, right, that you have to overcome to get in a relationship. So that's all I'm going to say.
Can you go into that for a second? What do you mean there's a lot less hurdles to go into? Can you break that down for us, please?
Sure. So I just think that younger women are less selective, when that's basically it, right?
For me, high school was so much harder. I was a virgin in high school. I could get no ass in high school. I think high school is tricky because it's largely a popularity contest. So if you're not one of the cool kids, then good luck. And I wasn't one of the cool kids, versus when you get out of high school, there's not that extreme social classes, and you don't have to be one of the cool kids. No one knows. I could be a massive loser with one group of friends and then go out and meet another group of friends because I'm not constrained to these small social things. So I don't know that I would say high school is harder. I would say college and being adult is so much easier.
Well, I just think the barrier for entry to being a cool kid in high school is so much lower. And I think, if we saw these Chads, Sorry.
I failed miserably at it. I don't know. I tried to be one of the cool kids in high school, and I was definitely not one of them. So I don't know if it's like that much easier. I think
Maybe it's because you're ESL. I don't really know how to respond
no.
to
I
that.
spoke. No, I spoke it.
Or are you speaking Russian?
No, I spoke English fluently.
I can't speak English.
I spoke English fluently by the time I was like 10 or 11. So no,
Okay.
it wasn't my language barrier. It was just the fact that like I don't know, like high school kids are so fucking judgmental and shit. And I was constantly. I mean, a lot of that had to do with who I was too. I was really worried about what people thought of me. So I think that if I could travel back now, like take my mind into my high school body, I probably would do a lot better. But I disagree with this assumption that high school is like somehow easy mode, and then it just
100%. Yeah, that would be my stance.
What's easy mode depending on who you are? If
you're one of the cool kids,
star of the quarterback of the football team, it's going to be a lot easier. Yeah,
that's
but
true.
if you're just a regular guy,
depends on who you are. Yeah, if you're one of the popular kids, you're on the football team. Then I think high school is probably some of the easiest. But also, chicks don't really want to fuck in high school. A lot of them. There's a lot of prude chicks in high school, right? It's usually as chicks get older that they start, putting out. So
can I quickly just adjust something on my phone for a minute?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are you still there though, Peter? Because I want to. It sounds like we're agreeing on a lot of stuff. I want to try to make this a bit more. I want to see like what you disagree with. Because it sounds like Alex's content more than mine. Like, what specifically do you disagree with Alex on?
Yeah, let's get into that. Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right. Yeah, just give me 1 minute. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Be like a list of things. It could be one thing in general. Because
sure.
I think right now, these conversations are interesting, but I think sometimes one of the people in the chat said like, "Oh, we're overcomplicating it," and I kind of agree. I want to try to see like, let's get down to brass tacks and see like what are specific things that Alex very much believes in that you definitely disagree.
I disagree with this whole thing about Alex being half Jewish. I really don't like that. I wish he could kind of work on that a little bit.
Dude, you're half Jewish, half Russian. One is actively trying to take over the world and right now, and the other one is trying to take over the world constantly. How dare you? You're evil incarnate.
In my defense, though, I'm technically from Belarus. So Belarus is like being Russia's bitch right now, but they're not like actively invading Ukraine.
All right, good point.
All right. Yeah, so we'll go over the disagreements here. So I guess the next thing I want to talk about with the whole game thing is that I don't know if Alex believes this or not, but I think he does. It's that it's again a seduction curriculum can somehow compensate for a shitty childhood or let's just say an abusive upbringing or an upbringing without any interaction vis-a-vis the opposite sex, or even having a sister can be massively beneficial when it comes to interacting with women later on with life. And I don't think learning game will ever make up for that lack of interaction. So what's your thoughts?
Okay, so let me comment on that. So I think that you brought up a whole bunch of different things. So I think if you were abused as a child, I think that you have trauma and you need legitimate therapy. I don't think like a dating coach or game is going to overcome the trauma that you're carrying if you were like abused as a child. But that's different than, for example, how I grew up. I was never abused as a child. I never had a sister. I'm an only child. I never was popular in high school. I didn't really have that many friends. I never really had, I didn't lose my virginity until I was 19. I didn't really have any girls that I was friends with. I didn't really have many interactions with girls in general. We moved around a lot when I was a kid, so I was always like the new kid in my school. So, I did grow up very socially isolated, but I wasn't abused. So I don't think I need any therapy. So for me, game was exactly what I needed in a lot of ways. I was just kind of socially awkward. I didn't know how women operate. I didn't know how women thought. I had a lot of self-esteem issues, and for me, game helped with a lot of that. But if I was like molested or something by like some creepy uncle,
no, I'm not talking about molestation. I'm just talking about maybe some mild neglect, right? Some verbal abuse. I'm not talking about like being beat every day or whatever.
Yeah, I think
that's extreme.
Yeah, well, I think I had something along the lines of that. I mean, my parents did the best they could, but we're like, they were like foreigners, like they just different. Like my parents worked a lot. I don't think my parents spent that much time with me when I was a kid. So I don't know. I never really had like, the ideal childhood, but it wasn't bad either. I mean, it was fun. I think, there's definitely good parts to it. But, in a situation like that, I think game was, quite good. Like that's exactly what I needed. I don't know if I would like, yeah, but yeah, if you were like severely abused, then you probably need therapy. But aside from that, I like, for example, in your situation, like I've heard you mention that, like, you feel like you missed out on some socialization when you were in high school, and now you feel like, it's kind of like a lost cause. But I just heavily disagree with that. Like, I don't. I think if you
Well, lost cause, not for getting laid, but maybe for, I don't know, becoming socially adequate.
But I think you can become socially adequate. Like, I don't see why you can't.
Okay, so I guess when it comes to this whole game stuff, like the strategies you're employing, right? They only kind of, in my opinion, they're only effective in like a very artificial environment, if that makes sense. So like when you're on Tinder, right? There's an agreement between you and the girl, right? So it's like you're kind of playing chess, like you know what to expect, so you can plan in advance for her responses. So you don't have to be like socially adequate to do well on Tinder, right? Like I'm a pretty analytical guy. Your text scheme is very analytical, right? I guess I've analyzed all the patterns, and I've set a few dates, and it was effective. I canceled them, right, because I have anxiety, obviously. But I don't think it's difficult to succeed if you just implement these tactics. However, if you're in an environment that is socially ambiguous, right, when you get invited to parties, or when you're on a college campus, then I think it's impossible to navigate by just learning a few basic tricks, right?
Well, I don't think. I mean, well, yeah, but I've picked up girls from other things than just Tinder. Like, I've actually picked up chicks from college parties. When I used to live in LA, we used to go to UCLA parties fairly often. This was when I was like 26. We used to crash UCLA parties, and I would bang chicks there. I'd bang countless chicks from Cold Approach. So I have gotten girls from socially ambiguous environments, and I think my ability to socialize is like way better now than it was when I was like 18, like without a doubt. Like, I think I just have a very like much easier time just socializing, having a good time, relaxing. And if I meet a girl that I like, of like, seducing her and basically getting her to want to go home with me. And
Well, sorry to cut you off, how does your game change in a socially ambiguous environment compared to like somewhere on Tinder that's highly artificial?
Well, a lot of that, it's not just your external strategies, it's also your internal beliefs and mindsets. Like, a lot of it is that. And just, I think when I was younger, I used to think, that I was a loser deep down inside. And I haven't, felt that way in like a very long time. Like, I don't think I'm a loser. I actually think I'm really fucking awesome. I think I'm more awesome than like 99% of dudes, honestly. It may sound a little egotistic, but that's just truly how I feel. So when I'm in a socially ambiguous environment, I no longer become self-conscious and I'm in my head. I don't give a shit. I have fun. I fuck around with the situation because I don't feel intimidated anymore. I'm sure there are social situations.
Yeah. Sorry.
Like, I'm sure if you put me in like a fucking room with like Putin, fucking Trump, and like a whole bunch of like world leaders, I probably would feel a little self-conscious, right? They're like, all right, Alex, we need your analysis of the Ukraine situation. I'd be like, fuck. Like, I probably would feel anxious and, challenged, right? And probably would, allow myself that would creep in. But most social situations, I don't feel like in my head anymore because I've been through those time and time again. I've exposed myself to all those situations. So it's no longer scary. If anything, it's kind of boring for me, honestly. That's why I don't even go out that much anymore, because a lot of that shit is just boring for me. I've gone out to countless bars, countless clubs, countless parties. Like, that stuff like largely bores me nowadays. So yeah, I mean, I think that's like kind of when you stop being in your head and you just don't give a shit anymore. But I think you have to like expose yourself to that and experience that over and over again. And also you have to improve your self-esteem.
Okay, yeah, you said a lot there as well. So yeah, the first thing about having high internal self-esteem, I think that's really important and true. But I think a lot of that is obviously based on the feedback you've received as a child. We can agree on that. And again, in these ambiguous environments, I mean, there's no script to follow, right? For example, like, I'm a pretty articulate guy. So if I had to do a public speech, I actually wouldn't feel that much anxiety because I'm a decent speaker. But again, if I'm invited to a party, the way I'm going to conduct myself is based on how I've been treated in the past in a similar environment, right? So if I was bullied at school, I'm not saying I was, but I'm not going to have extremely high self-esteem or confidence when I'm trying to navigate a social situation, right? So I guess the only way you can actually overcome that really shitty self-esteem And I actually do agree with you in the sense that, if you get laid a lot, I think, yeah, it can actually like change your internal character. So
Yeah, I mean, I think it does, but also just aside from it's just aside from the physical act of getting laid and the validation you get from that, just
yeah,
pushing yourself constantly outside your comfort zone. So, like for example, you mentioned that you wouldn't feel nervous if you were doing a public speech, but you
not at
mentioned,
all. I don't feel nervous now, for example, right?
right, because you've done that. But you said you felt nervous and you canceled on Tinder dates because you haven't done that. So
Yeah.
but I think if you pushed past that anxiety and you did it and you went out with a few Tinder dates, you would no longer start getting as nervous every time. And if you do it 50 times, you won't be nearly as nervous. If you do it 100 times, you won't be nervous at all, barely.
Well, I wouldn't be nervous on Tinder dates, but I still would or could be nervous in the socially ambiguous environments, right?
But then you go into those environments and you overcome the anxiety. You force yourself to do things that make you feel uncomfortable over and over again, and then they become less of a big deal. I mean, that's a big part of it is desensitization. It's just doing things that make you uncomfortable until they no longer make you uncomfortable. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, there's some truth in that, but some people have a naturally much lower anxiety threshold and pain tolerance, right?
Sure.
So,
but
that's not something you can control.
Well,
no, I agree, but
that
again,
is
like
you control though. I have to like kind of push back a little bit. Like what? But the way I'm gonna push back is just to ask you a question. Why do you think that's out of someone's control? Right? Because
why is what outside of someone's control?
Like people, the people with lower anxiety thresholds, right? Why do you think it's outside of their control to basically put themselves in environments where at least they can be tested, right? Because we already know there are examples of people out there, some who are who ran under start tech empires out here who force themselves in uncomfortable situations to become successful, right? Sometimes it translates into dating, things like that. So why do you believe that people with lower thresholds, right, have it harder to put themselves out there? Because that's essentially the point, right? To get yourself out there. So
sure. So I don't think going out is out of your control. I said I think the threshold itself is out of your control. So like you can. So what I mean is, like, I don't know, if you have really strong willpower, right? You can go in an environment that naturally makes you feel really shitty and try to overcome it. But again, it's not going to be easy.
Most people aren't naturally born with strong willpowers, correct? And a lot of that stuff is developed over time. Correct. And when it's developed is due to either people being in stress points in life, because realistically, a lot of times when you listen to those people who at one point didn't really know themselves, but after they've been tested, they realize what they're made of. They didn't realize that until they were actually put in that situation. Would you? And I gotta ask a question. A lot of things that's building up the anxiety in those in folks like that, right? Do you think it's just the overthinking of things, overanalyzation of certain things that may or may not go wrong, that essentially kind of paralyze the individual from taking action?
Let's see here. So over-analyzing, yeah, I think so. I think, just being neurotic in general is going to kill you in social situations.
So you would also agree that there are also exercises and things that person can and tools that person can utilize to be able to deal with that. Because at first we got to identify where the problem is. And
so what tools exist?
We're overthinking it, right?
Like CBT, is that what you're getting at? Or therapy?
Well, therapy, CBD, things to calm you down. It is what it is.
No, not CBD, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I do stuff with THC, so
you're good. Yeah.
Your boy just gotta be out there with it, baby. But I'm just saying. Now, I do concede to the point where there are other people in this who are also born in this world who are maybe not as tall, right? For me, it's I'm 5'8", right? So there are guys I hang out with that are 6'1", 6'2", right? They're taller than me. Hey, Don's like 6'2", he's bigger than me, right? But the thing is, it's not. I can be an individual who can, let's say I'm walking downtown Madison, I can overthink the fact that, hey man, this guy's taller, so maybe if I go holler at that girl, she's probably gonna find him more attractive, or if maybe the girls aren't even gonna look at me or approach me if because they're gonna go with the tall guy, obviously, right? Because that's a lot of overthinking. Or I can mold my mind to be the person where it's like, no, hey, no, you attract them And when they over here, I'm gonna let my thing go ahead and do it, right? Because it's just recognizing what I got. I'm speaking for me. But I'm letting y'all know that how you know I would work through that kind of deficiency, right? Of not being tall, right? And I'm not also saying I'm the best looking person, right? I think all guys are ugly. I think for all you guys out there in the chat and y'all niggas on the panel, I think guys are ugly. It just is what it is, right? I think we're meant to be. But realistically, right, there are other things that I can work on, like for my physique. I would tell you this. In middle school, I used to be skinny, and my mom used to give me bald ass haircuts. Now, right? See, now I'm to the point where I'm fucking almost 30. I'm 27 years old, right? But I changed my physique. I'm still going bald, but I'm not letting that stop me. I'm doing all the other things, right? I'm doing all the other things that are attractive, right? Maybe I'm wearing more fitted clothes, things like that. So wouldn't you say that for those people who are, you know, find themselves in situations where they at the disadvantage, there are different attributes that they can look at to basically put themselves in the running to be selected or pre-selected?
I don't know. I think that's a very complex issue, right? So if you have certain deficiencies, right? If you're not a Chad, you're never going to out Chad a Chad, right? So I think you should compete in a different domain, if that makes sense, right? So I guess with this whole introverted extroverted thing or the neuroticism, right? I think if a guy is, you know, pretty neurotic, instead of trying to actually change himself, he should, you know, for lack of a better term, just be himself and put himself in environments where he'll be more likely to succeed. So,
and I agree with that.
It's pretty complicated, though.
I wouldn't say it is, because you just simplified it.
Okay.
You simplify. I think it's complicated because we overcomplicate it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a psychologist.
Exactly.
Right?
So that goes back to the original point. I think a lot of this stuff comes down to overcomplication. You need both, dog. You need both, hands down. That's what it is. I don't care what. I know good-looking guys that can't, like, literally they come to me, dog, to talk to me about certain things. Like, yo, I don't get what it is. Or
yeah, if you stutter and you're good-looking,
right? You see what I'm saying? So I would say that, listen, man, you need both. You need both. Like even someone like
but you don't need to be a good-looking guy that just stutters. I've seen good-looking guys that don't have a stutter problem who struggle to get laid. I've personally coached multiple of them, so I've had that happen. Like I know, like really good-looking dudes who were struggling, and they could, you know, who they could get laid with? The chicks that would just do all the work for them. The chicks that would be like, "Don't talk, I'm just gonna do everything." Like the really really hot leads, they could close those. But for any chick who was like more of like a warm lead, she was like a little bit on the fence, which is most girls. They couldn't close those. They would just always fuck it up. So,
well, yeah, I guess if you're timid, then that could be true. But in the age of Tinder, if you're good looking, it's easy mode, right? You could, Alex, you can agree to that.
I would say,
even if you don't have the optimal text game, like you're still gonna get, you know, you're gonna get laid.
No, a lot of times, man, Tinder, what it comes down to it is lifestyle, man.
And by good looking, I mean like 8+ on Tinder.
Well, we did an experiment where I did a deep fake profile where I did a male model, and that guy was like a 9 probably, and I mean I would say, you know, he was able to get more dates, but it wasn't like insane, like where it's just like new chick every other day. It was maybe like 3 girls, 4 girls a month or something like that. So
that's exceptional though, 3 to 4 girls a month.
Well, no, like for me, like 3, 4 girls a month is like a bad month.
Okay,
like,
so even if I had the capability of laying 10 girls a month, like I wouldn't do it because my life would be just devoted to that one thing. So,
well, believe it or not,
if you have a system, are you talking about 10 new lays a month, or
10 lays a month is ridiculous?
But what do you mean by 10 new lays a month?
There was a period in my life where I was doing like 20 lays a month. When I was actually I was at my peak when I was living in Austin.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Yeah, I was doing like 15, 20 a month. I was just like every other day I was being.
Well, that would exhaust me.
But do you break down Alex? What he seems to think, it's like the time for doing 10 lays a month, the time constraints it takes to be able to achieve that goal. Now, when you were doing 20 plus, that was average for you. How much time did you devote to doing that?
I devoted a good amount of time to it, but I also went to the gym and I also worked on the biz. Not as much as I work on the biz now, for sure. But you know, there was definitely areas of my life where I was neglecting, like friends and family. So you know, now I prioritize differently. But yeah, I mean, I think that you know, it was definitely time consuming. I won't deny that. So like now I've reached a point in my life where I have much more balance, where I don't bang like even like I would say bang like 3 or 4 girls a month now, right? Like I've definitely go way less nowadays. You know, simply because my priorities have shifted. But you know, it's totally doable to do 15, 20 a month, especially depends on where you live also, but it's doable.
Okay, I mean, we can move on from that if you want. I can get into some other disagreements I have.
Yeah, let's go through them because we're already an hour and a half in. So
yeah, I
let's go
get it. Yeah.
So let's go through
All
them
right.
fairly rapid fire.
Yeah, for sure. So you talked to QB. Kind of the second part of the discussion was, it was about hookers, for example. And you told them that, banging hookers is less satisfying because you're not receiving the validation you would receive if you got laid for free, right? On the basis of desire. So is that your stance there?
Not exactly. I said that it would be way less satisfying for me and a lot of people I know. But hey, listen, if you're the kind of guy who can get just as much satisfaction for banging a hooker as you can banging a regular girl, then power to you.
It's not just as much, but it's the opportunity cost of devoting basically your entire life and money to trying to get laid for free as an average guy. Sorry if that was a long-winded sentence.
Yeah, but I just don't think you have to devote your entire life to doing it. Like, I think there's a happy medium. Like, I think that, like, nowadays, like, if you look at me, I don't think I'm like that good looking. I'm above average looks probably.
6 maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, something like that, sure. Especially in Miami where I live. But, like, I do so much more shit than just banging chicks. Like, banging chicks is such a small part of my life nowadays. I'm just really active on YouTube. I make time for all my friends and family. I shoot a whole bunch of videos. I do so much shit. We got, like, also a whole bunch of businesses we're developing. And I still can bang several girls a month and have a girlfriend, right? So I don't think it's that time-consuming. Like, I think there's a happy medium to it, where you don't have to spend all day every day. Like, if you want to do 20 girls a month, yeah, it's going to be very time consuming. But if you want to do, like, a few girls, here and there, then I don't think that's going to be that time consuming. No, especially once you get, like, your strategy down and shit. So the point I was saying is that for me, that would be kind of depressing, and for a lot of people I know. But if it's not depressing for a guy, then, that's different.
Okay, I mean, we can, like, talk about the advantages and disadvantages specifically. And I don't think the extra advantage of getting, laid for free is worth that time. And I could try to explain why, and you could challenge me on that.
But the thing is that, and again, I don't mean to, like, dox you.
And I'm talking about for average guys, right? Who are average in everything. So I'm making a generalization.
Right, but the thing is though, you've told me in the previous streams that you've never actually banged a chick for free, right? Or, like, I don't know if you've never banged a chick.
I got one. Now I have one now, yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I got one lay. Yeah.
Congrats. Okay.
Thank you. Right. Yeah, I actually went to, like, this like drug addiction support group, right? And I was trying to find, like, some ratchet chicks there, and I succeeded with one of them.
Are you trolling or are you serious?
No, I'm dead serious. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's where you went?
Yeah. And I pretended to be a drug addict, and it was successful.
You must be fucking with me.
I'm not.
That was your strategy? Wait, so you got nervous to bang a chick off Tinder, but you weren't nervous to pretend to be a drug addict?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a clown, if you haven't noticed.
I mean, that's just I'm mind blown right now how that's.
How is that mind blowing? It wasn't that difficult.
You got to be trolling me. I know you're trolling me.
All right, we can move on, but
anyway, the point I was making is that, like, until you experience, like, fucking bunch of okay, I mean, I don't know if you actually banged that chick or not, but once you fuck a chick, like you have to experience that, and then you can compare it to, like, fucking a prostitute. Like, I've done both. I banged prostitutes and I banged a whole bunch of chicks, like, without paying for it. I can tell you that I received way more satisfaction from the non-prostitutes. So I think you have to. It just
sorry if that was rude.
No, it's not. It just felt way more satisfying to me. Like, first of all, when you're fucking a prostitute, she's not that into you. You can tell. Like, if you can read body language, she's just doing it for the money. That's not that satisfying. There's no connection. There's no intimacy, really. That was kind of all missing for me. And then, like, as soon as they're done banging you, they're like, okay, well, I'll see you later, right? They got to bounce. Like, you don't get that, like, good banter. You don't get that connection.
Okay.
The sex is not as good. I mean, a whole bunch of reasons. But
okay,
also,
let me hold on, man. Let me challenge those points. So I think the two advantages you can draw from getting laid for free are obviously the validation, but you can kind of break that validation down. You get the social and you get the emotional, right? Would you agree with that?
I don't know how to break down validation. It's just validation for me. I don't know if it's like
no, but it's like, I guess, the ego boost with other men and the dominance hierarchy. That's one part of it, and then the other part is just, like, actually, like, women desiring you and the banter and the shit like that you just mentioned, right? kind of two separate things.
I don't know. I mean, I could the only way I could explain it is like I used to get like a big ego high when I would bang a new chick, and
Of course.
I haven't really gotten that in a while, so that went
Yeah.
away some time ago.
Yeah.
But
So what I'm saying is that I guess, and you even admitted to like you don't really enjoy the process of gaming chicks anymore. Is that true?
yeah, that's probably true to some extent. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I tried the Tinder thing. I canceled the dates. I set 3 of them, but again, I didn't find like again, I vouch for your strategies. They're good, but I didn't think it was like enjoyable to text them or anything. I also to second that I don't even if you go on a date with like a cheap Tinder slut, for example. I don't think it's going to be that like emotionally satisfying. Like, why do you care, about like the validation of a woman that's just going to give it up right in one date? Like wouldn't it be so much easier and more efficacious to get a hotter girl that you don't have to like butter her up, right? You don't have to worry about, oh yeah, am I doing this right, am I doing this right? You can just enjoy the process for your own sexual gratification, right, and satisfy your own needs. So that's kind of my argument there.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you for me, like being a prostitute was just not that enjoyable. Yeah, sure, like the act of sex was enjoyable, but the feeling of one, I need to fucking pay for sex was not enjoyable. Two, the actual experience itself, because there's no connection, there's no sense of intimacy. That was not that enjoyable.
I think intimacy is the key point here. Let me chime in for a second because like that's the key difference. I've never been with a prostitute, so I don't know what it's like, but I'd imagine you're probably not having like pillow talk and stuff after. You probably fuck her and then she leaves, right? Yeah. So, but here's the thing, like even if you're fucking a girl all of the time, there's only so many nuts you can bust throughout the day, right? So actually the majority of the time, you guys probably aren't fucking unless it's just a deal where she just comes over, you fuck, and then she leaves. But most girls, they want something a little bit deeper than that, even if you don't. And let's say all you want to do is just fuck, and that's it. At the very least, like this is why I make a distinction between sport fucking and actually dating girls, right? So, for example, John Anthony Lifestyle. This isn't a shout out to him by any means, but like he's clearly all about that sport fucking lifestyle, just racking up a high body count, which is fine. But I think the majority of guys, they just actually want to like not just fuck girls, but date them as well and have a good time with them. You don't necessarily need to be monogamous with them. You don't need to be a simp. I'm not saying you're a simp if you're monogamous with them, but like, you know what I mean? It's like, there's more to having women in your life than just fucking them. And that's it. And I think if you're just hiring prostitutes and that's all you're doing, then you're just, like, why not just jerk off? I don't really get it. Like, unless it's just for ego's sake. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but like I would, if I'm ever like in a dry spell, like before I would ever think about like hiring a hooker, I would just be like, I'm just gonna like jerk off and then I won't care. You know? So like let me think. Do I want to hire, or do I want to have this stranger come over my house where, I don't even know, she could have her pimp outside that will like rob me after. Let me jerk off first and like make sure that I'm thinking clearly. Then after I jerk off, I'll probably just be like, no, I'm not gonna do that. So I just don't understand it. I don't get it. I do get why guys hire prostitutes, and I really do think for the most part it's because they are seeking validation. I do not think it's because they just want sex and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for me, like the 2 times I banged a prostitute, it just was like, I don't know, it just wasn't like satisfying in a whole variety of ways. We lost Peter quite a bit ago, but we've been going on for almost 2 hours, so I think that's okay.
Yeah, I think that was. I don't really think there was.
So what would be like? What would you say was the outcome of this in your opinion, Alex? Right, just interaction between you and the young man. I'm assuming he's a young man.
Yeah, he is. I think he's 19. Okay. He was definitely trolling me about
the drug addict thing.
Yeah. I was like, there's no fucking way. I didn't want to like cast like shade at him because I don't know him. So I wanted to just I'm like, there's no way. Yeah, I mean, I think that there really wasn't much of a. I think
what the issue of what happens is, again, he seemed like a nice kid for the most part, trying to have a discussion, figure things out. I mean, I think he even said he like bought one of your products, Alex, or maybe he just watched one of your YouTube videos.
Tried.
But yeah, I think that's typically what happens.
See,
Is
that's not true, QB.
Bro,
It's
no,
not true.
hey, you know what this QB shit? Hold up.
dude,
time out.
he's literally a
You know
clout
what I'm
chaser.
gonna do?
I wouldn't
Hey,
even bring him up.
QB, because it seemed like, what are you doing this for, bro? Like,
He's a clout
what are
chaser. That's
you
why
need?
he's actually a clout chaser.
Stop. Like, if you don't, you gotta listen. If you don't fucking take the money, I don't want to hear shit from you, bro. I don't. Like seriously, dog. Like, cause at this point, like, I'm starting, like, bro, I don't even want to go into this, but like, nah, you can't start coming after dating coaches if you're not gonna put the money where the mouth is, dog. Like, real talk. Somebody else was willing to do. Like, bro, that's not on some man shit, dog. Like, you're not, bro. This is a manosphere. If you say something or if you're about something, you stick with it. Like, what do you stop?
I'm not even going to comment on it. I already said my opinion. I'm not going to talk about QB or talk to him
I don't want to hear it.
Until he grows a pair and accepts my challenge.
Like, you gotta, like, I don't, like, you not credible until you take the challenge, bro. We need to put your ideas to the damn test. Like, I'm tired of hearing this, bro. I'm tired of debates. Like, the ultimate debate, since you've led it up to that point, is to do this in person. And I want the content out of it. So take the fucking money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that's extremely factually not true because, like, I don't know how you could listen to everything I said and say Alex is against pay for play. No, I don't really give a shit what people do. People could be more than welcome. I just personally don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to fuck prostitutes. Like, that's just, call me crazy. I just don't enjoy it. Like, I don't want to do it. I have nothing against it ethically. I think it should be legal. I just don't want to fuck any prostitutes at this point in my life. Maybe when I'm 80, I'll get back into it. We'll see. Okay, anyway, so closing thoughts, I think. No, we're not going to let QB on because we already had him on. We already debated him. Like, this the whole thing is
QB, you got to take the money.
Done over and over again.
Listen, you got to,
Dude,
like, the only argument now we need to have is the after results of you and Kevin doing this in person. Your audience deserves this. All right, everyone deserves it, so we can just stop. Because if you're gonna say, listen, no one's against pay for play. Like, you just heard the guy say it. They just have their all different reasons why they won't do it, right? But if you are saying game, okay, fine, because you're talking all the stuff that you could just be in a bar and a woman, you don't even have to speak English, and they'll just walk up to you. All right, motherfucker, prove that shit. Be in a situation where your looks can take the advantage. But if you're not willing to take that challenge and leave motherfuckers on red, I don't want to fucking hear it.
I love it when Duke is bad cop. All right. No, I mean, I think we had a lot of people on the stream, at least. I don't really know what the conclusion of that stream was. Do you guys have any closing thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I think really what it comes down to, like I said, is a lot of these black pill guys. I actually mentioned this at the end of my stream yesterday. Unfortunately, I think who's responsible for creating this straw man that the black pills attack is RSD. I actually don't have too much of a problem with RSD. I kind of liked RSD back in the day a little bit. I don't think that they're like, just terribly awful and that's it. I think there's some, they had some pretty decent coaches, some pretty decent advice here and there. But they did the whole dating space, this community, whatever you want to call it, a huge disservice when they were saying that looks don't matter at all. Because I remember specifically.
I'm sorry, dog. Vital Message just said something, and I'm sorry. I gotta come at this. I'm sorry, Kevin. Do you mind?
No, it's fine. It's
fine. He says, "What would QB prove with the challenge?" He puts his money where his mouth is. That's what he's gonna prove. Like, everything he's gonna be saying, that's what's gonna be proved because he pushed it to that point. Come on, Vital. Come on, dog. Don't play this game with me. Come on now. You know exactly what this will prove. Yeah. Like, you can't sit there and deny every receipt that was presented and then not want to accept the challenge where everything will be squashed in front of people in real time.
Dude, again, Duke,
that's what it would solve.
I know you want to really do this, and I want to do it too, the challenge, because I think it would be awesome. And honestly, it'll just be a good time, like, regardless of I think it'll be good content,
really would.
But yeah, unfortunately, he's not going to do it. And like I said, I'm not even going to mention him because all he wants. Look, I almost feel like Fresh and Fit saying this, like, oh, he's clout chasing, but he actually is clout chasing because he doesn't stand for anything. I don't even think he believes in the black pill. It's just the black pill is the only community that would accept him. That's really all it is. I'm serious. I'm dead serious.
And no one's against pay to play. Like, you could go pay to play. I think y'all are like feeling that stigma. Like, guys don't generally favor it, but if that's the option you got, do it, bro.
But this is what QB want. This is my speculation, right? So like nobody gives a shit that he's banging girls in Mexico and then most of them are prostitutes. Like nobody thinks that's impressive. The only people that think that's impressive is actually even black pillars don't think they're impressive. They only align themselves with him because he says, "Oh, dating coaches are scammers," and then this is his way of just that's it. He just wants attention, and that's all. So I'm not going to give him that attention anymore. It's the same reason, guys are saying I still talk about Fresh and Fit a lot. I barely talk about Fresh and Fit anymore. The reason that I do that is because I'm actually convinced now that their strategy, after seeing other YouTubers trying it, is they just try to actually concoct controversies in order to stay relevant. So I don't want to contribute to that. And so it's the same thing with QB. So until he puts his money where his mouth is and he actually shows up and does the fucking challenge, I have nothing to say to him.
Bro,
also, Vital. So real quick,
you're not doing it in person.
Real
you're
quick,
not roast nothing, dog.
Real quick, vital message. I am on your. I'm gonna go on your stream tomorrow, but if you bring QB Willie on or mention him or anything at all, I'm just gonna leave because this is all QB wants. Is this he wants attention? So until he accepts my challenge, I'm not going to associate with him in any way at all until he proves that he has balls and he belongs in the manosphere. Because in the manosphere, you need to have an X and a Y chromosome and also have balls in order to be part of it. I'm pretty sure QB Willie doesn't have balls. So for all we know, based on what he's doing right now, when he meets up with these prostitutes, he doesn't even fuck them. He just brings out a dildo and then the dildo goes up the prostitute's pussy, and then the other side of the dildo goes up his ass, right? Because he has no balls. He probably doesn't have a dick either.
Oh,
the dude has no balls. Sorry, if you can't be part of the manosphere if Kevin is scared. What do you?
Let me say something. Let me say
scared,
something.
bro.
Let me say something. Let me say something.
We're done. We're done.
Hey, I think here's the thing. No, but this is very important. A lot of guys that are following this stuff, y'all got to realize, man, the new day has to be dawned. If you guys are if you want your ideas have to be tested. Like we get enough with these damn theories, bro, because all we're doing is just hurting a bunch of men and not really finding a way to solve things, right? If we're gonna say this works, then let's go ahead and have the guys who are the biggest proponent of that test exactly what it is that they're saying. And that's what it's going to prove. It's going to solve it. Like, what do we do in science, right? Science, we test our theories, right? And then that's how we know if they work or not. We don't just sit in our fucking echo chambers and repeat the same thing. If you're about what you say you're about, then be about it. Don't fucking just, teeter-totter when proofs come to shove, because then you guys, this is the moment you guys have to start questioning the person feeding you the ideas that they're talking about. And you have to ask yourself, am I in a fucking echo chamber? Am I comfortable being where I am? All right. Is this a life that I want? And you have to accept that and stop complaining about whatever this is going on. All right. Because this man, listen, I don't even think right now, QB, I'm gonna just be real with you, and I fuck with everybody else that fucks with you but you until you take that challenge, because I don't think your words will be credible and anything else you say is credible until you take the fucking money. There's no way else about it. Show your guys what your theories are all about, and maybe if you can prove that to them and they can see it, they can be inspired themselves to achieve something more. Enough, dog. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I'll throw in a few hundy to cover the cost of the prize and shit. I'll put up a little money into this.
Hey, shit, bring the camera stuff down too. Let's fucking make this a fucking thing, bro.
It doesn't even make sense how because it's like either way, technically, game loses, because if I win, whatever metrics we have, people are just going to be like, oh, it's because Kevin's better looking than QB, therefore it proves the black pill. It's like he's not even a good representation of the black pill. Like, he's not a good-looking guy at all, so I don't really understand why. And he says he's tall, but I'm tall too. So unless you guys are saying QB Willie's better looking than me, and he's not a good representative of the black pill either. So it's just not. So for example, actually, there's one guy who I had on my panel yesterday. His name's what is it? Certified? Was it Stefan? Certified Tyrone or something? He's in the chat. So he's about the same height as QB Willie, and about the same looks wise, and he believes game exists, QB doesn't. So that would actually be a better competition. But I'm still willing to do the challenge, obviously. I just don't know what it would prove. I just think all it's proving so far is that QB just has a giant mangina, and he's just afraid to actually put his money where his mouth is. Anyway, so real quick, vital message. If you bring up QB in any way at all tomorrow, I'm out. because I can't just keep throwing this guy clout, man. It's fucking annoying. And honestly, it takes away from the conversations. I know it's like entertaining, but it's kind of like when you tell the same joke 5 times over, it's not funny anymore. It just gets fucking annoying. So until
dude, I was laughing during your guy the dildo dildo example.
I mean, I know it's fun to roast people, but
I was laughing my ass off.
Yeah, but look, like when you're on YouTube, people want to be entertained. So I'm fine with making jokes and whatnot, but also like again, it's like I said, it's like the same joke being repeated over and over again. It just gets stale after a while. It's not even that funny anymore. I mean, QB and I have had 3 different debates and he's gotten destroyed every single time. It's not like I did anything special. I just asked the right questions for him to destroy himself. So, fine. Just I'm done with doing those, like, enough talk. Let's actually do it in person. Let's see. Let's see if the Blackpiller,
Dude, let's do it, man. Like,
but he's not going to do it. He's not going to do
it. Besides, if he even fucking does it, bro. There's another thing I was thinking about, man. Like, I was thinking about like some of these courses, bro. Like, we low key undercovered, like from some of these dating gurus in the manosphere, low undercover, just like get one of these shit and like actually have some dude like go through it. I don't know if that'd be like how to set that up, but that'd be crazy. Like, just say like, hey, why don't you go out and do this? Try this. If this works for you, right? See what works. And then that's free marketing right there to whoever. If your shit works, your DMs and on demands and shit, right? Hey, listen, I'm not gonna say you're gonna show the details or everything like that, but if you could prove that you took the course and we can show your success rate from when you started, right? And then pre-course and then at post-course where your results are, we can just compare that. We don't have to go into the content of it. And if there's a definite improvement, and we can see that and track that, hey, listen, then we can tell who's legitimate or not. All right. And listen, I think that's fair, right? I mean, listen, if you are strong and stern in your courses, then if it's going to work the way you say it work, let's do it. And it's free,
I use DMs on demand to slide in the DMs of Turd Flinky Monkey Sex Doll. And I sent her a dick pic, and I got a thumbs up. So clearly, DMs on demands works.
Yeah, dude. It's so funny too. Like, I was saying this before. I don't even sell like dating products or anything anymore. If you go into my Patreon, I don't even think I mentioned dating. The highest tier is me offering fitness coaching. So if anything, I benefit by pushing the black pill, saying looks is all that matters. I just have common sense. So I understand that actually game does in fact exist. So it's so funny. It's like, I'm not even the right person to be going up against QB because like, I'm not a dating coach. I'm not selling a dating program.
QB needs to go up against MLD. I think that would be a perfect matchup.
Well, he'll probably beat MLD.
Well, they've actually done that. QB has got.
I know they've done that. Like listen,
that I will say MLD was like so fucking racist during that.
No, he was racist and then like fuck it. But like
I was listening to that, I was like, you gotta be shitting.
How just brain dead that shit was, bro. Like, it wasn't even funny, bro. Like,
I'm not gonna repeat it, but he was. You can find it online.
Oh, you didn't watch it?
Was it just like?
Oh no, MLD was super racist in that shit, dog.
Super racist, dude.
He was talking. He called him an uneducated monkey.
Over and over again.
Over and over. And Myron was on that fucking stream.
Mine was just like
so this must be like really old then, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's older.
Yeah. Okay, so dude, that's a perfect point. The fact that QB has been doing this shit for that was even before I think I was like part of the manosphere. So this entire time he's just trying to be like, look, guys, look at all of these prostitutes that I'm hooking up with. Aren't I cool? And then everybody's just like, no, dude, you're a fucking loser. And then eventually the black pill is just like, oh yeah, I guess you're kind of cool. Fuck that. All he wants is clout. I don't fucking understand. Like, what is the point of this, QB? Other than that you just want attention. And hey, look, you're getting it, and that's why I'm done with this. Like,
listen,
let's move
I'm
on.
surprised people are still fucking with you, dog. Like, real talk. I'm surprised people are still fucking with you after you said all you said and you didn't back it up. Like, that has to say a lot about a lot of y'all, bro. Like, real talk.
Well, you know what's funny? After I did the
I can't rock with that.
I'll just share something pretty funny. After I did the debate with QB, I got a message from David Bond, and me and David Bond are friendly. He went on my podcast. He stayed in my house the other day. He was like, dude, he's like, this fucking guy. I'm like, oh, you know him? He's like, yeah, he just slides in. He just like joins all my groups and just constantly keeps accusing me of banging prostitutes nonstop. And we had to kick him out of every single Telegram group. Apparently that's what David Bond told me. So I was just laughing my ass off. Bad. Like, how many groups can you possibly get kicked out of? Like,
Yeah.
but
I don't know David Bond that well, but also
he's a
QB.
cool guy.
How would you know who these prostitutes are? Because you hire them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would
know,
say this,
like-
like, I don't. David Bond is like the last person that needs to get prostitutes because he's like banging like 5 or 6 girls. So, like, if he,
Yeah,
gets
guys,
a-
if you actually want to see a travel maxing channel, it would be David Bond. It wouldn't be fucking QB. And look, I don't know. Maybe David Bond does pay for escorts. I have no idea.
No.
Like,
Here's
I don't
the
know
thing.
the guy,
Fair,
but
to be fair to QB, right? The thing is, if you come out with content on how to navigate prostitution and like not getting finesse in foreign countries, and you can appeal to a demographic, that'd be cool. Like, stop with this anti-dating coach thing, because when you're making that your identity, like, it's so easy for people to pivot to like, okay, well, you're paying for box. Like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, stop. Like, you can't. It's like you're trying to hurt somebody and spite your face, bro. Like, stop it. Stop.
Yeah, you know what
Focus
idea
on your craft. Like, guys would love. There are guys out there who would love to figure out, you know, to maneuver the red light district in some of these countries. Teach them that shit, bro. Just focus on that. Stop doing this anti-game shit, because we know it's cap. Stop.
You know what I would say? I gave this idea to QB last time. I said, dude, why don't you do like a city by city breakdown of all the places you travel to, and you can evaluate how good that city is for getting laid. So you travel a lot to all these cities. So do a video on each city.
Yeah.
Okay, Tijuana. This is how good Tijuana is for getting laid. This is how good Mexico City is. This is how good Guadalajara is.
Tips
This is
and
how good.
tricks.
yeah, no,
and
that's an honestly that would
right?
be
The
good.
game
I
to
don't
look out for. Your shit will blow, bro.
Yeah,
like,
Yeah, that would be a lot better.
that
I
is
don't
like
know
explode.
how I don't know how YouTube would treat it, but yeah, I think that would actually be for
Well,
guys who
he's got a
genuinely
different-
want to hire prostitutes. Like, I'd imagine you go to a third world country and you look for prostitutes. It's probably a pretty dangerous thing. A lot of guys are probably like kind of concerned of like, you're probably going to go in shady areas. So at the very least, you can like report like what are the good places to go for, you know, brothels and stuff that are like safe and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I'm serious. I think that would actually be, I don't know if YouTube's terms of service or whatever would allow for that, but
No, it's not.
Well,
Paying for boxes game according to the definition of everyone on the panel. No, it's not. Like, that's just completely not true at all. There's no game required in paying for box. So no, that's just a dumb statement. Anyway, keep going.
well, I think his logic would say like, oh, it's a strategy for getting laid. But then again, what our definition of game is a strategy for seducing, right?
Okay, yeah, I will amend my definition of game. The ability to get laid, the ability to seduce and sleep with a girl without paying money. I will amend it. Okay.
Okay, because I was gonna say, because money is a form of seduction.
Okay, I will amend my definition.
Well, is that a form of seduction or is it a form of bribery?
It's
Is bribery
seduction?
seduction?
It depends on the context.
Yeah.
Fair point.
But all right. Anyway, guys, we've been going for over 2 hours, so let's let's say our final thoughts. Yo, guys, everybody, check out Kevin's channel, check out Duke's channel. They both have really good stuff. Show them some love. Subscribe to their stuff. Do you guys have any closing thoughts?
No, man. I think that was an excellent debate that you and the young man had. I think we definitely need more of that. I mean, it was very, very interesting to see that go down and, you know, see the questions asked. And it got us a little bit of an opportunity to see inside the mentality of it. So, yeah, we need more stuff like that, man, because I think there's a lot of things that need to be cleared up. A lot of overthinking, I think, will be the key word that we derive from this. And, you know, maybe figuring out, okay, if this is the point of the issue, how do we build from here, right? But overall, this was a great stream, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks for having
Peter.
me on.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, I know. It was a good debate. I saw you logged in later, but it was like too late. We were already closing it out, so that's why I didn't add you back in. But you know, we'll do it again sometime, man. All right, Kevin, any closing thoughts?
No, I'm kind of tired. I need to make sure that I film some videos. Yeah, so I guess I'm gonna be on the Vital Messages channel tomorrow. And I'm just gonna say this now. I'm not gonna deal with the panel of retards afterwards. So I'm just gonna talk to you, Caduceus, because you're reasonable. And then if you open up the panel, I'm out. Especially if you talk about QB or whatever, that's just no, I'm serious. I mean, if you even mention his name or bring up a chat by him, I'm just leaving. I'm not even gonna say anything because all he wants is clout, and that's it. And he's a giant distraction from us actually talking about important issues. Like I said, it's funny and it's funny to roast him, but it's like a joke that's just not even like funny anwell, you know what I mean? So,
Caduceus is gonna be like, yo, man, I got a Q-tip. You're already like, you hear Q, you're already on like the delete button.
well, I'd like to think he's, you know, reasonable enough to not do that, but
Yeah, I think so.
if anybody thinks I'm afraid of debating QB Willie, I would like to reference you to the 4 times in which him and I debated, and he got destroyed every time. So
Let me just
I
answer
don't-
my girlfriend's question. I am
Yeah.
not Babe, although maybe I will pop on, later. I don't know. We'll see. It just depends on what I have going on. All right. Anyway.
yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Let's all check out Kevin and Duke's channel. They got good stuff. Until next time.
Later, guys.